Today on the Bone Barrel Podcast, homicide is handcrafted in our discussion of the Soap-Maker of Correggio, Leonarda Cianciulli. Then, take a dip in the deep end with our review of the slasher sequel, The Strangers Prey at Night. It's all here on the Bone Barrel Podcast.
Welcome to another installment of the Bone Barrel Podcast. You're with your host, Richard Jones.
And myself, Brian Almeida.
Just wanted to do a little catch-up here because we haven't recorded in a while.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't seen you, man. I've missed you.
Aw, I missed you too.
Yay.
A lot of things are happening this week for me, actually.
What's going on?
Oh, well, it's video game stuff.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Because, growing up in the 90s, I'm a big Pokemon fan. Mm-hmm. And so we're getting some news on Thursday. Thursday is actually National Pokemon Day.
Thursday.
February 27th.
Oh, okay.
Is National Pokemon Day. The games came out on February 27th, back in 1990.
Whoa.
96?
Mm-hmm.
The 27th is National Pokemon Day, where every year the Pokemon Company will update on news of their upcoming games, updates in their titles, like the apps on your phone, like Pokemon Go, Pokemon Unite, which is a...
People lost their minds for that Pokemon Go shit.
Oh, yeah, and it's still going. And so every year at this time, they give updates.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I hope to God they finally give us some news on the new games, because it's been a year and a half since they announced it.
And nothing.
And they've got no trailers. There was like one trailer that kind of like, oh my God, how do you describe it? Like architecture? Mm-hmm. Like when you look at a blueprint? Mm-hmm. It was like that, like digital blueprint. And you were like going through the city and everything was like lines, like it was blueprints.
Uh-huh.
And that's literally all we've had.
How lame.
In a year and a half.
Don't you hate that? Like when you just love a franchise and they just don't release anything for the longest time.
I'm like, give us something.
It's the worst.
And I told our friend Jess, and she's excited too, because what they're doing, this new game is, so Pokemon has regions. Every game has a region. Like, imagine like a country you go to. Mm-hmm. So we're going back to that country, but it's going to be at a different time period.
Oh, okay. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And so Jess is excited because this is her favorite country region that they're doing.
Oh, Jess.
And
hi, Jess, if you're listening.
She, and I told her, I said, what if they don't give us any news again?
She starts crying.
I said, I'm going to crash out. I'm just going to start flipping shit. I'm about to be done with the Pokemon Company if they don't give me anything.
Did you see that Pikachu movie with Ryan Reynolds?
Oh, yeah.
So, because I didn't...
Pikachu?
Thank you. Okay, because I've never been a Pokemon guy, and so it's like, how did you feel about that movie?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Brian. It's not that good.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, okay, it was a cool concept, cool idea, but there's a lot of cracks. The plot doesn't make sense. There's a lot of plot holes.
Oh,
like
gotcha.
A lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the animation style that they did for the Pokemon. That was kind of cool. Like, this is what they would look like in the real world, basically. And there's a good humor because Ryan Reynolds, it's going to have humor. Just some of the doesn't make sense.
It just wasn't fulfilling as a fan of the series.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like my number one movie.
Yeah, I never got into Pokemon. I did go through a brief phase in the 7th grade where me and my friends would like trade Pokemon cards and like try to get valuable ones and stuff like that. I never got deep into it. It was for a very brief time.
There's some cards out there, Brian.
Oh, I know. Well, it's crazy because this kid at work was showing me one time, like, you can buy like digital Pokemon cards now. Mm-hmm. And he's like showing me, and I mean, he's a nice guy, but he's like showing me, he's like,
is this recent?
This was a few months ago. But he's showing me, he's like, yeah, look at this Charizard or whatever. It's all fucking platinum and shit. And I'm like looking at it and I'm like, that's cool. But in my mind I'm going, it's not real. Like, you can't hold it.
That's kind of what you mean?
I think so.
Yeah. It's this came out a couple months ago. You open booster packs and you get digital cards. This is my collection. Like, I got all these cards.
Do you collect Pokemon cards at all?
I used to when I was younger, but I did not treat them very well.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
But yeah, so 27th National Pokemon Day, and then the 28th, the next day, my new game in the series that I love, Monster Hunter, comes out.
Ooh.
And I've had it pre-ordered. I played the beta. Oh my god, I'm excited to kill some giant T-Rexes and stuff.
Heck yeah. Is it like sci-fi action or what is it?
No, imagine more prehistoric.
Okay.
And use like bows, giant great swords, hammers, lances, and stuff, and you're just fighting these monsters. And you get materials like its claws, its teeth, and stuff like that. And you use those materials to make armor and new weapons.
And it's a new game?
Yeah, well, it's a new game in the series.
Okay.
Monster Hunter's been around for a long time.
Oh, whoa, that's crazy. I've never played any of them. I've been playing a couple of games lately. I just finished the Dead Space remake for PS5.
Oh, God.
What I guess a lot of people didn't like it.
I won't play it.
I thought it was great. I've never played a Dead Space game before. I think it seems to be like a lot more of like the purists, like the people who like the Xbox 360's versions, the old versions.
It came out originally on PS3.
Okay. So whichever ones, there seem to be purists out there that are like, no, screw the remake. The old game is better. But just as somebody who walked in blind and played the game, I thought it was so good. I jumped so many times. Like, I'm kind of a wuss when it comes to scary games because I love horror. I love reading horror. I love watching horror. I love playing horror.
But when you're put into the...
But when I'm playing a PS5 game, I so easily... And my kids get mad at me too because... I'll like jump, I'll be like, bah! I'll scream playing the game. And they'll be like, they'll jump and they'll get mad and they're like, Dad, like, you're scaring us, not the game. Because I just get so into it. But I played the Dead Space remake. I got all the way to the last level. I couldn't beat the final boss.
How'd you like that Invincible one that just kept regenerating?
Oh, the red guy. I think it was the red mutated. I don't know a lot about the lore. I just remember
he's called the Regenerator.
Yeah, that was a pain in the ass. He was scary.
And you have to. The only way to kill him, you fight him like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, it's a few times he pops
up.
And
finally, you get him by freezing him in cryostasis.
Yes, that's what it was. He was really scary, and I really liked how all of the creatures, like the alien morphed out people, all mutated and multiple limbs, and it was so unpleasing to look at. It reminded me a lot of like H.P. Lovecraft kind of stuff, which was really fun. I love that. That's what it is. It's cosmic horror.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was a lot of fun. So I get to the final boss. I've like smoked this whole game, and I get to the final boss, and I can't beat it. And my kids have been watching me off and on playing this thing, right? I'm playing the game. I'm starting to get frustrated. I can't beat this final boss. And my 9-year-old is like, can I try? And I'm like, yeah, sure, honey, go ahead.
Beats the first time?
It wasn't the first time, but it was certainly, it's like, it took him a few tries, and he was like, done. Good job, Walker. Good job, sweetie.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I can play the original, not the remake, the original, no problem. But the remake terrifies me.
It's so good. It was so scary.
It's graphics updates. The dark.
Yes.
The darkness is real. And
I'll be the first to admit it. I turned those settings up just a little bit. I like my game a little bit bright because I'm getting freaked out playing this thing, and because I can't.
And then you're playing it at night too.
Yeah. 100%. And
all the lights off. Dead Space. Believe it or not, the series gets less scary as it goes on. Not the remake. The remake got terrifying. But the first one was always a little scary in my book. Literally, when I first got it, I got it when the PS3 came out. It was Christmas time. I wanted a PS3. Grandma got me the PS3, right? And she goes, oh, yeah. And the guy at the game store recommended this game to go with it. Oh. The only game I had was Dead Space.
Whoa.
My grandma's like, yeah, the guy said it was great and you would love it. And I was like, okay, sure. I put that game in. The lights went off. The alarm started going off.
Yep,
and it dropped.
Started coming out.
And it said run. I turned off the game. I was like, I can't play this.
Yes.
I was like, Grandma, I need a new game.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
I was young, and horror games are not my forte. And I didn't realize it was going to be a horror, even though I should have realized it.
Yeah, but, Dead Space.
I had my friend, childhood friend, actually had to come over, and I just watched him play it.
Whoa. How cool.
But I was like back there with my looking between my fingers.
Yeah.
But the second one, he actually, when it came out, I said, I got the new game, come over, play it, I'll watch you.
So my oldest swears by the second game. He says it's like supremely better than or at least it's not supremely better, but it's
in the first one you're stuck on the Ishimura, the ship, which is a giant ass ship because you're stuck on it the entire game. In the second game, you're on Titan. which is one of the moons around Saturn.
Whoa.
And it's a city.
Oh.
And so you're going through a city. And then the third game, you're on a planet. It's a snow planet. Mm-hmm. Snow is white. It reflects light. So it's bright. There's a lot of brightness.
Okay.
But the cool thing about this third one, it's co-op.
Oh, okay.
So you can play
it's strictly co-op?
No. You can play single player or you can play with online co-op.
Okay.
And so you play as Isaac as the first player. The second player takes over as Carver, which is he's a soldier, and he brings Isaac to the play. He's like, you're going to solve this problem. I will tell you right now, I played as Carver. He's got the red armor, and red's my favorite color. There's side missions, and his missions are fucked. Basically, he lost his wife and son to necromorphs. There was at this one point, like, we were near, like, the second to last chapter, which I think it was his final part. Mm-hmm. And we get in the elevator, right? And the lights turn off. Mm-hmm. And the lights turn back on. And this was the trippiest thing ever, Brian. I applaud the game makers for this.
Okay.
The lights come on, and there's toy soldiers in the corners of the elevator. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm talking about, like, to your ceiling. That tall, like big toy soldiers, right?
The heck?
And I actually had made a new friend. This guy, I just matched with him randomly. I did a random, and we ended up adding each other. Then we played the whole game together. And I was like, dude, what the fuck is with these toy soldiers? And he goes, what toy soldiers? Only I could see them.
What?
They were only on my screen.
What the
Because
heck?
Carver was going crazy. Isaac's like, dude, there's nothing here. And so my friend on his screen, there's nothing. The elevator's empty, but on my screen, it's toy soldiers.
And you guys are talking.
And then the elevator opens up, and it says "Happy Birthday," and it's Carver's son's name. I'm like, dude, there's happy birthday banners. Look at these giant presents. And he goes, dude, those are coffins you're looking at.
Whoa.
I'm like, dude, no, this is a giant fucking present right here.
That's
sick. And he's like, dude, that's a fucking coffin.
Dude.
And I'm like, so the game makers made me go crazy. I'm like, is my friend gaslighting me? Yeah. So we send screenshots of our screens to each other on PSN, and we see
total different things.
We're like, oh my God.
That's crazy.
And then there'll be parts where I start, like, Carver will start like this, you can't control your character, and shadow children are running at you. And what actually is happening on Isaac's screen is that xenomorphs are coming, and you have to keep Carver safe.
Whoa.
From all the xenomorphs.
But to him, he's just seeing, like...
And he's like, the children are screaming and laughing and crying, and he's, like, on his knees on the ground, and I can't do anything. He's just crashing out, and Isaac's got to protect him. And
it almost sounds like The Thing with all the snow, but all the fucking...
and it literally is, but it was the craziest moment in the entire game. I was like, dude, I can't do anything, and he's like, they're everywhere. Anyway, Brian... it's real nice to, talk about these games, right? We probably should get into something real.
Yes, let's do it.
So, welcome back to Real Horrors. Brian, today we are covering Leonarda Cianciulli. She was an Italian murderer. Before we get to Leonarda, we're actually going to have to start with her mother. Leonarda's mother was born in Montello Avellino, which is a small village in southern Italy. She grew up as the young teenage daughter of a pretty wealthy, high reputable family. She had everything she ever needed or wanted, living an easy life. She grew up to be a very beautiful young woman, known to be kind and well-liked by most people. In the summer of 1893, her parents decided, it's time for her to get a suitor.
While she's young and beautiful.
Because, as you know, as the time, it was normal back then for, if you were a daughter, for your family to find you a husband. As a high reputable family, you want to keep your reputation high. So you're going to marry rich.
It's almost boiling down to like a cold business transaction, it seems like.
There was actually no end to the amount of suitors that were lining up to marry this beautiful and wealthy young woman. So because she came from such a wealthy family, who was also high-standing social class, it was to be that she would only entertain the suitors that were of the same standing or better.
Sure.
It sounds gold digger-ish to me.
I was going to say a tradition carried long into the modern era, yes.
We shouldn't mess with no broke.
I'm not saying she's a gold digger, but...
She ain't messing with no broke, which kept certain guys of lower class standing, like Leonarda Cianciulli, from being able to be one of her suitors.
Okay.
Unlike Serafina, Mariana was older, about middle-aged, probably about your age, actually, at this time.
Okay. Am I middle-aged?
You're almost 40, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll be 40 in 2 years.
So you're pretty close.
Wow, damn.
He was literally about your age. Actually, he was probably about 40.
That's all right. Sporty and 40, bro.
Oh Lord. Anyway, he was very impoverished at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And was known to be cruel and piggish in nature around the village. However, he really liked Serafina. They had never met, though. So that year, he had developed an unhealthy obsession with her, to the point where he had been stalking her.
Okay.
One evening, he followed her to a party that one of her suitors was having. He waited in the shadows and proceeded to drink himself into a stupor until Serafina eventually got ready to leave. She began to walk alone to her home nearby.
She went alone?
Her suitor took her back to his house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, house party, woo, you know. Mm-hmm. When the party's over, he didn't walk her home. He's like, bye.
That is weird. Maybe he just decided, nah, I'm not about it.
Unknown to her, she was being followed by Mariano.
Okay.
He came at her, and at first she thought she was being robbed and saying that she had no money. Then she realized it was not money that he had been looking for. Trigger warning, anybody that has a problem with sexual assault. He then brutally raped her. When he was done with his assault, he simply got up and walked away, leaving her confused and terrified, alone in a muddy field. Serafina had a Catholic upbringing.
So can I guess, so she can't share what just happened with anybody?
At the time, she knew nothing of sex other than two people did it after they had gotten married and only to have children.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't even have context to what just happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
From growing up Catholic, she thought she had committed a sin and thought it was her fault.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
I did something to deserve this.
Yeah, you get attacked like that, and then you're like, what did I do to bring this upon myself?
God, yeah.
That's horrible.
That. So she never told anyone because she was ashamed and blamed herself. Her shame only grew from seeing him around the village from time to time, and even more when she realized that she was pregnant.
So she's attacked on her way home from this house party,
for
lack of a better term, one night. And this man attacks her.
1893's version of a house party, yeah.
He sexually assaults her and then leaves her alone in a field.
Yeah, not saying a word, just walks away.
Then she gathers herself and walks home. Walks home by herself after being assaulted.
Yep.
Okay. And so now she's pregnant.
Yep. After 3 to 4 months of keeping her pregnancy a secret, it then became obvious to her parents.
Yes.
She started to show.
Yes.
They demanded to know who it was that got her pregnant, and would go door to door to her suitors if she did not tell.
Sure, and especially back then, all like the stigma and the shame attached to the whole thing. It would have been absolutely humiliating.
Serafina came forward and told her parents it was Mariano because she didn't want her parents to embarrass her and spread word through the entire village.
Mm-hmm.
Mariano was brought to the estate, and the only option that her family thought that was right would be, you're going to marry Serafina.
What?
Because
the dude that raped her?
Uh-huh.
How was this worded to the family? She
told her family and her parents
fucking attacked me?
Yes.
Or
yes, she did this. And her parents did not respond in the way she expected. She's pregnant, and her family doesn't want word getting out.
No, we're covering this up, and there's going to be a wedding.
Because we can't have a baby out of wedlock. Oh no, our high reputation as a rich family.
I can't believe what I'm hearing. I want to reach back in time and smack the fuck out of these two parents.
Well, Serafina was upset about this, but Mariano, he was pleased because it's what he wanted all along. Her parents immediately made arrangements and had a priest brought to the house, and they were married in a secret wedding.
That's nuts to me. Okay, go ahead.
So I'm going to let you know that, Brian, even worse. At this point, remember, he raped her, he just attacked her, then left her.
Sure.
So at this point, they had never even spoken a word to each other.
Yeah, because he just attacked her that one night, and that was that.
Yep, and they never talked to each other at all. He just raped her, got her pregnant, and now she's being forced to marry him. Well, after the wedding, she was sent to live at his dwelling, which was basically just a shack.
Wow.
Her parents basically wanted nothing to do with her after this.
Whoa. They're just like, well, This is your man now. Go live in his shack.
The home was unfurnished. The bathroom was outside and was shared with other houses on the block.
So this is a real quick de-escalation in class and
like culture
everyday
shock.
Normalities. Yeah, wow, okay.
Mariano had no job and no prospects of working.
Mm-hmm.
He would just order Serafina around and verbally and physically abuse her and continued to force himself on her. So Leonarda Cianciulli was born on April 18th, 1894.
Okay.
After a very long and traumatic birth that took a huge toll on Serafina, losing consciousness many times throughout.
So Leonarda, the main character of our story, is
the
daughter.
From the moment she was born, she was unwanted. Serafina was still a young woman when Leonarda was born, still dealing with the fact that this child was a product of rape/sexual assault.
Yeah.
And still being abused sexually, physically, and verbally. As Leonarda got older, the neglect from her mother only got worse. Leonarda would later say that she was physically and verbally abused by her mother, always criticizing her and brutalizing her for any tiny mistake that she would make.
Because she never wanted her. Growing to hate her.
Well, yeah, all she sees in Leonarda is Mariano.
Yeah.
Leonarda was abused so badly, she went through many years of loneliness and isolation, trigger warning for self-harm. By the time she was 13, she attempted to kill herself, unsuccessfully because she was found and stopped. Serafina said that she was disappointed that Leonarda had not succeeded.
Her mother said this?
I am disappointed that you didn't succeed in killing yourself. A few years later, she attempted suicide once again, this time by ingesting glass.
Like ground up glass, or did she fucking bite a jar, or what'd she do?
I don't know.
Okay, but she ate glass.
Just ingested glass.
Damn.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the Disaster movie?
No.
You know, it's one of those parody movies. The girl that's supposed to be like a Rapunzel or whatever, she's like, she's like, ooh, it's candy, and there's blood.
Eating glass? Why?
I'll show you the scene later, Mark.
Okay.
Anyway.
I never saw any of the disaster movies or like that was more towards the end of the spoof era because there was a whole era that started in 2000 with Scary Movie and
they're so bad.
It was a good like 6 or 7 years there, wasn't it? Where there was a lot of parodies. Superhero movie.
Yep, with Drake Bell.
See, I never saw that one either.
Oh my god!
I just know that they exist.
That
I know
so
about
funny
them.
because it makes fun of Spider-Man. But you know the scene where the spider bites him? Well, in Superhero movie, he gets like a sex pheromone, and it's for like all animals, and they all start getting on him and start. and then you see this snail climbing up on his butt, and in the captions, like the snail's talking, it says, "Yeah, take it, bitch." As the snail starts thrusting.
That's so awesome. I've never seen them. Dang it! Now I kind of want to see it.
Oh, okay. Let's get back to the case. We need a moment of laughter.
Yes,
it's getting kind of dark. She was stuck, suffering, living with her mother, and her father was nowhere to be found. He spent most of his time drinking with friends and would return late at night. One evening, Leonarda and her mother actually had to go out searching for her father.
Whoa.
Finding him passed out at one of his normal drinking spots, and they could not bring him back to consciousness.
He's out.
Yeah. Well, they didn't call a doctor. They just carried him back home and put him in a room, which is where he died.
What happened? He just alcohol poisoning?
It is either alcohol poisoning or I'm going to let you in on something, Brian. There was not autopsies done back at this time.
Yeah, at least the idea of an autopsy was like more new and it wasn't the norm.
Yes, and it wasn't done on everybody.
For sure. Okay. So we're not sure. We just know that this fool was drunk as a skunk.
Yep, he died. He woke up. They woke up the next morning, he was dead. So now Leonarda's stuck with her mother.
Yeah.
He was never even around, so really she had no love.
Yeah, these multiple generations now of parents not wanting their kids. And
so you imagine at 13 years old trying to kill yourself twice.
Just being so miserable all the time, going, why even exist?
So not long after Mariano died, Serafina actually married again, this time to a more respectable and kinder man, and hoped this would change how her parents looked at her.
He was more kind, probably had a little more money.
Yep.
Right.
However,
step up from the last fella.
Her parents were still very uninterested with her life, even though this new husband was a definite step up. So, with this plan failed, she schemed up a new plan to find a wealthy suitor and marry off her daughter, Leonarda.
Okay.
hoping that the daughter that she had abused and treated like trash her entire life would pull her out of the impoverished life
Ride her coattails.
and back into the wealthier status.
Yeah, because money will fix our love.
And now suddenly, oh, I love you, honey. She did not tell her daughter she was doing this. Leonarda was already meeting with many different men in private. Eventually meeting Raffaele Pansardi and falling in love with him. He was a few years younger than her, and what at the time was considered a low-status job as a registry clerk.
Oh, okay. So he's doing like he's like keeping records and doing like data entry and stuff like that.
He was the first person to treat her well. He was amazing to her. He loved on her. He showed her affection, showed her happiness, and so when he proposed to her, she immediately said yes.
This is Raffaele and Leonarda.
Yep. Serafina was unhappy to hear about the marriage between them
because
he's not wealthy. And told Leonarda that she had placed a curse upon them. And this is Italian. Ooh, boy. Italian mother putting curses.
Yep, that's real shit, Italian or not.
She had placed a curse on Leonarda and Raffaele for ruining her life for a second time.
Because I needed you to get me. I needed you to get me out of this
So you ruined
pit.
my life the first time by getting pregnant with you. Now you're ruining my life for a second time.
What a...
Hearing this from her mother, the one that had abused her and criticized her entire life, left a pretty big impression on her. Like, imagine your mother abusing you.
Like more than normally?
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably don't have to imagine.
Just joking, Mom. Just joking. No, my mom's the best.
I bet you better leave that in.
She doesn't know
She's
that
gonna
she is.
slap you around.
Yeah. Mom doesn't know that she is, but she's
hear
the
knock
best.
at your door. Mensa.
Brian! Richard, hide me.
Jumps out the window.
Yeah. Just my imprint in the glass.
But,
shit. Fucking hit the fuck out of my elbow on this new desk.
That was your mom. She heard you.
Mom, I said I'm sorry.
Like I was saying, like imagine your mom like heavily abusing you, treating you like trash her entire life, and then she says she puts a curse on you.
Yeah.
You're gonna believe that shit.
I can just see her too with her crooked finger and her black dress in a field. I curse you.
La bruja.
Yeah, big time.
Walking away from her mother, she actually believed that she had been cursed and was gonna live a life of tragedy. On the bright side, after leaving with Raffaele, she would never see her mother again.
Okay.
So
that was the last words they exchanged.
Yep.
I curse you.
Yep.
Wow.
So even though Raffaele would be the kindest person to Leonarda had been mentally broken by her abused life that she had always lived, with the anxiety that more abuse was going to come sooner or later, waiting for the other shoe to drop, especially with the curse.
Yeah, she was just constantly expecting the worst.
She was always
pessimistic.
Thinking, like, it's going to happen. Something's going to happen. To her husband, you're going to abuse me. And he's like, no, I'm not. She would criticize herself heavily and would just fall into emotional turmoil. She had outbursts of emotional depression, anxiety, and even dealing with PTSD of her childhood.
Of course.
Neither of them obviously knew about these symptoms, but her husband would still sympathize with her and be there for her through it all. She began to have seizures shortly after she moved in with her husband from all of the anxiety. Like, her anxiety was so high, she had seizures.
The stress.
The stress.
On
on the brain, which is what causes seizures.
Yes.
She was raised Catholic, but she still had belief in many superstitions. In early adulthood, she was interested in magic and the occult.
There you go.
She would soon blame all of her issues, like all my problems I'm having right now. She's blaming it on this must be the curse her mother put on her. Raffaele's coworkers would look down upon him at his marriage to Leonarda because she was of a lower class than him. At his job, whenever a chance for a promotion showed itself, they would just pass over him. So desperate for any kind of guidance, she turned to the Romani community. You know what that is, right?
No.
Okay, I've heard this word is what is it? A bad word to use to describe somebody, you know, like it's a word that puts them down. What's it called? I can't think of the word right now.
An insult?
Not an insult, but like there's a name for those words. It's basically puts somebody down because of what they are.
Derogatory?
Derogatory term. There we go. This is the derogatory term, gypsies.
Oh, is that derogatory now? Okay.
Apparently.
Why?
I don't know. I just heard it was derogatory recently.
And you guys, you gotta, listening, you gotta forgive my ignorance. I just don't know.
So anyway, she went to the Romani community hoping that things she heard about them dealing with curses, fortune telling, and etc. Were true, and that she could receive help. One fall afternoon, she attended a fair and seeked out a fortune teller. The first thing Leonarda asked the fortune teller was, "Am I going to die? Is that the curse?" The fortune teller responded, "You're going to live a long life. However," taking her palm in her hand, "it's a sad, long life because you will outlive all of your children."
Whoa. This is Leonarda at the fortune teller.
So now Leonarda's thinking,
I'm going to be sad and alone and unloved.
Live a long life with no children.
And just be cursed in this
Yep,
existence.
this is what her mother did to her. In Italy in the early 1900s, people wanted to have big families. That was the goal. So after 3 years of trying to conceive, Leonarda became pregnant in 1920. Trigger warning, there's going to be a lot of child loss in this story from here on out. Unfortunately, it was an immediate source of anxiety when she got pregnant. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm pregnant now. Yay." Oh no, the curse. I'm going to outlive this child. This child's going to die. Which, in turn, caused her seizures to return.
Because she's all stressing out.
Yep. Which caused her to have some falls and accidents. Unfortunately, 3 months into her pregnancy, she had a seizure that caused her to fall, which she then experienced strong abdominal pain and bleeding. A miscarriage.
She lost her child.
Leonarda was devastated because she was wanting to be a mother, especially one that was the complete opposite of her own mother.
Of course.
I'm not going to treat this child like I was treated.
Exactly.
Not only this, it started to reinforce the idea of the curse her mother had placed upon her in her mind. In 1921, Leonarda and her husband, Raffaele, moved back to his hometown of Lauria Potenza. They both found small jobs and bought a small house. After a few months, her anxiety began to dwindle, thinking maybe the curse thing was just coincidence. In 1922, Leonarda got pregnant once again and gave birth to her son Giuseppe.
Okay.
From the moment he was born, Leonarda was determined to be a better mother than her mother was to her. She devoted every living moment to her child. However, that curse still hung over her head, bringing a whole new round of anxiety. She became hyper-vigilant and overprotective of her son. What's that? Stay away from that. Get away from my child.
Oh,
You're not allowed to bring my son.
Helicoptering.
Yeah, to the 9th degree.
And she's all PTSD'd out.
Yeah.
And she's all freaked out about this supposed curse.
Leonarda ended up losing her job during her pregnancy with Giuseppe. She would try to find work wherever she could. The fear of Raffaele losing his job and leaving them with nothing was too great. She eventually found a job as a cleaner at a tavern. However, whenever she was working, she was plagued with the fear of what might be happening to her son while she was not there.
Yes.
When Giuseppe was young, he thought his mom being overbearing was normal. As he got older and began to socialize with other children and adults, he realized that his mother was not normal, in fact. Far from it. And then she even began to isolate him to keep him from socializing, to keep him safe.
Sure. And so he's starting to see the reality of things. And
even though dealing with the anxiety and fear of her so-called curse, Raffaele and her wanted to have more children. This would prove to be difficult over the next few years, having 2 more miscarriages. But then eventually giving birth to 2 daughters and a short period of time in between them. Like, she had one and then she had another one right after.
Oh, okay. Raffaele was keeping busy.
Oh, we'll get to that. And then she also had another son. So now she has 4 kids.
Okay.
And she's had 4 kids and 3 miscarriages.
Jeez. This poor woman, because all that stress and worry, certainly did not help any pregnancy.
Within a few years, the children began to get sick. Her youngest son would develop painful and severe rashes. And one of the daughters would develop a chronic cough, and the other would have issues of fluid building up in her lungs whenever she was laying down.
Jeez.
Leonarda would stay up holding her daughter at night so she was able to sleep without fluid building up. Even in doing all she could, the daughter would pass away from the fluid buildup. A few months later, Leonarda and Raffaele woke one morning to find that the youngest son, the one that had that rash, had passed away in his sleep.
From what?
It perhaps could have been SIDS. Mm-hmm. You know, at the time, no autopsies were done on children. This brought the curse and premonition from the fortune teller back in full force in Leonarda's mind.
Sure.
She ended up leaving her job to full-on take care of her remaining children, the one daughter and her oldest son, Giuseppe. Mm-hmm. A few months after, the other daughter developed the same cough and fluid buildup as the first daughter.
Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm.
And then also passed, leaving her with her only child, her oldest, Giuseppe.
Mm-hmm. She had 4 children that were alive, and she's lost 3.
Yep. Now she's back to just the one. Mm-hmm. So now with all this loss, Leonarda experienced a bout of depression and anxiety like nothing she had experienced before.
Of course.
Her husband, Raffaele, was also going through that same bout of depression.
Yes, of course.
Eventually, Raffaele wanted to make Leonarda happy again in any way he could, and the first thing that came to his mind was having more children, because nothing made Leonarda happier than being a mother. And also, it increased her anxiety, which was unknown to him. So eventually, after a few years, Leonarda did give birth to 5 healthy boys.
At once? Okay. I was going to say, was she like a, what do you call them?
Octomom.
Yeah, an octomom or whatever. Would this be a pentamom? Yeah.
So now she has 6 boys.
Wow. Damn.
Imagine having double your kids, Brian. You having 3 more.
No.
Dad, hey Dad, I don't want that for dinner.
No. My boys are the best. The absolute best. I love you guys.
However, every single one of them also passed.
Jeez. From
It's unknown.
That's fucking horrible.
There's no evidence that they were abused or poisoned or anything. But at the time, there was also no autopsies done. But also remember that it's suspicious she just lost 5 children. Even the father, Raffaele, had no idea what had happened to his children. They just died. When Leonarda was questioned, all she said was every night she would dream of tiny white coffins that would be swallowed up by the earth.
Oh my gosh. This poor woman.
Her son Giuseppe could not let his guard down around his mother because she was on him, like white on rice or fly on shit.
Yeah, not letting him go any. Oh my! She must have had him chained down in the basement. He became
her sole focus. Mm-hmm. Eventually, Giuseppe and his father found Leonarda a cleaning job at a local bank, which she enjoyed. In fact, her only complaint was that she had to pay out of pocket for her cleaning supplies.
Okay.
Imagine me hiring at our job, and they make us buy the cleaning supplies.
Oh,
out of our pockets.
I already do that shit. I don't buy the cleaning supplies, but I'm certainly buying my own pens and shit.
Yeah, but anyway, I'm talking about the cleaning supplies.
Yeah, even still, it's materials that I wouldn't.
So because of this, she was not bringing a lot of money home, you know.
Sure. Yeah, pens are expensive too.
Which, okay, Brian, enough of the pens. Go to Penn Island.
What? Penn Island? What's Penn Island?
Write it down and read what it says. Anyway. Spell it out.
Stupid.
It's penis
oh
land.
My gosh, Richard. So dumb, dude. Okay. How did I not understand what you're saying? Yeah, fuck. Okay. I feel... Wow.
She began to make her own soap and cleaning supplies to make up for... you know, the money that she was bringing home, but even then it wasn't that much. Mm-hmm. And she would also constantly obsess over her son what he was doing without her around.
Sure.
One night, after all the other employees had left, she snuck into the manager's office and made a fake account for herself in the ledgers and transferred a large, noticeable sum, it does not say how much, to herself.
Okay.
So she went into the bank and said, this money's mine. Well, when she came back to work the next day, she was met by the police and was arrested on a fraud charge.
Ooh.
And this was in 1927.
Mm-hmm. Dang.
She went before a judge and was sentenced to 18 months at a nunnery.
What does that mean? A nunnery?
A nunnery. Nuns.
Like where they make nuns?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I'm unassembling.
That's exactly what I thought. The thing that puts their hat on.
Yeah.
But yes, it's where somebody becomes a nun there. Well, to any normal woman, this place was a living hell. Like, This is Italian nuns in 1927.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Italian nuns, Catholic nuns. Hardcore.
Slapping the shit out of this woman, Papin style.
Well, to any normal woman, this place was a living hell. But to Leonarda, it was child's play, saying to them, you should have met my mother. She made it through 18 months easily, saying that what made it easy was just thinking about her son Giuseppe and that he'd be waiting for her when she got out.
Gosh.
When she eventually got back home, she learned that Raffaele had lost his job due to her crimes. So the reputation.
Yeah, absolutely. There it is.
His reputation's tarnished to his family and the community.
And back then, I mean, I'm sure you could get away with that shit even nowadays. But yeah, certainly back then, they're like, nah, you can't. You don't got your shit together.
At this point, Raffaele had been so supportive and patient and kind for so long and getting nothing in return from Leonarda. He became a little resentful.
Of course. I'm surprised he made it this long.
Raffaele ended up borrowing a small sum of money and moving them to Lacedonia, Avellino. Raffaele found a clerical job and was able to afford a small house for them. Now at this point is, once again, Raffaele, Leonarda, and Giuseppe. After a while, the whole situation with what had happened back in Loria calmed down. You know, the fraud and everything. Like, life's getting better again. Leonarda found herself again, once again pregnant.
Oh, this woman.
Which brought back the same anxiety and fear once again.
Yes, don't you know by now? It's time to quit, girl.
Luckily, the child was born healthy, and actually, she ended up having another child right after.
Okay.
I'm going to let you know, Brian, this woman had a total of 17 pregnancies.
Whoa.
All together.
Yeah.
So 3 miscarriages, and then she had 14 children.
Whoa.
10 of them dying. Well, Raffaele's like putting in work.
Yeah, he's got a lot. He's got a lot of love for this gal, because I'm telling you, not only is he putting up with all this shit, but he's like still getting it up to make it happen with her. Like, that's not to be too graphic, but God bless that man.
17 children. Imagine if they all made it.
No, man.
17 of you little yous.
No, 3 is perfect, my babies.
With the fear of her previous fortune being told, about, outliving all of her children, Leonarda actually began searching for another fortune teller. She found one, and this one took her palms and said in her right hand, she saw a prison, and in her left hand, she saw a mental asylum.
So which one is it going to be?
In 1930... there was a violent and destructive earthquake that killed over 1,000 people and caused major damage to the area, including Leonarda and Raffaele's house.
Okay. So now their home is destroyed.
So they once again move to Correggio, Reggio Emilia. When they arrived, the people there welcomed all the victims, including Leonardo and Raffaele's family, with open arms from the victims of the earthquake. In fact, they got Raffaele a job right away, found a place for them to live. Children were healthy and doing well in school. All was looking up for them since Leonardo's past imprisonment. However, Leonardo continued to worry, waiting for the other shoe to drop, and the earthquake had shook her more than anyone else. Everything that had happened up to this point, the fraud, the 3 miscarriages, the 9 children she lost, the earthquake she just went through, she believed it was all her fault, and it was her mother's curse for marrying Raffaele. She believed her mother's doing all of this.
Can I just say real quick, I'm of the mindset that these things are a very real possibility. If I'm being completely frank, I think that this shit's totally 100% legit. Just like, you can't help but notice that haunted places are real, and things of that nature, what I mean?
There's things you can't deny.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just more than what is meeting our eye here. And this woman, it just makes me so sad because from where I'm coming at, I know this is like totally not like secular in any capacity, but where I'm coming from, I'm just going, dang, like it's very possible that this is a real curse and she is doomed to live this long, tragic, sad life. And it's just such a bummer. And on a side note, going to all the wrong places for help, girl. I'm going to leave it at that. You go into all the wrong shit looking for spiritual guidance. All right, go ahead.
So because of all the events, she thought this curse was inevitable. So basically at this point she goes, you know what? Maybe I am cursed, but you know what? I'm going to live my life. I'm going to stop letting this fear and anxiety get to me. Things might happen, but I'm just going to try to live. I'm trying to get past it.
YOLO.
It took to the point that she was mentally broken to realize this, though. She was probably about to go insane and said, you know what?
Yeah, it wasn't a sudden positive change of mind so much as it was like a breaking point for her. Yeah.
So she began to make friends, go to community events. Soon Raffaele and Leonardo were well known as one of the nicest and friendliest families in the village. The community eventually even helped Leonardo open a shop front where she sold her homemade soaps and crafts.
Oh, cool.
Well, we're getting to the fun stuff, Ryan. Well, in 1940, Italy found itself involved in the Second World War. The Italian army used nationalism to inspire young men to join the ranks. One of the drawn-in young men was Leonardo's oldest son, Giuseppe, thinking it was a good way to serve his country and get away from his overbearing mother.
Yeah, sure.
Now, Leonardo did not hear the news from her son that he had joined the army. She heard it from she was shopping around and, like, you know, in the produce market or whatever. Oh, did you hear Leonardo's son is joining the army?
And she's like, what the
And she goes, what?
What? Dang, okay.
Like, you imagine your mom, what?
Oh my gosh.
She began to slightly spiral because she spent a good portion of his life overbearing, being protective of him. He's my baby, my golden child. She began to once again get interested in the occult and magic.
See, girl.
Here we go.
Going to all the wrong places.
She began seeing more fortune tellers to try to find any way to help her son because she's like, I don't want to lose my son. She collected many books, and one day she believed she had found the answer in a book called The Law of Equivalent Exchange.
Okay.
Do you know what that is? It's alchemy.
Reaping what you sow?
Nope. So equivalent exchange as an alchemy thing. And it's like, you can't, if you want something, you gotta give something in return.
Okay.
According to the book, she could ensure Giuseppe's safety, but she would have to offer another life to do so. The thought of human sacrifice disturbed her, but she thought she had no other choice. So give a life to save a life.
Yep.
Equivalent exchange. Well, she began to search for her first human sacrifice and found her target. 76-year-old Faustina Seni. Do you know what a spinster is?
A woman who lives alone.
And old and more
has cats,
less likely to get married and all that. Well, she had been coming to Leonardo's shop as a regular and coming in to lament about how lonely she was.
So she's like, perfect. I was just reading this book. Dang. Okay.
She made a plan to invite Faustina to her shop one day and tell her she's found a man that would marry her in Pula. I put it in parentheses so I know how to say it.
Okay.
Pula.
Good job.
It's
good
Pula.
job.
She immediately made preparations to travel to Pula, and Leonardo also convinced her to write letters and postcards to her friends and relatives. They were to be mailed when she had reached Pula to let them know everything was fine. Preparing for departure, she went to see Leonardo one last time. Faustina was very nervous. She had nerves. She's like, "Oh my God, you know, I'm excited, but I'm also worried about going
this
to
big life change."
Like, oh my God, and Leonardo said, "Oh, it's okay. Here, you know what? Here's a glass of wine."
To calm you down.
The wine was drugged, and it paralyzed her to the point where she couldn't move.
Damn.
When she was paralyzed and couldn't move, Leonardo went into the other room, grabbed an axe, came back in, brought down the axe, and it dug into Faustina's shoulder.
Oh my gosh.
So
she's trying to like, okay, I'll kill her real quick.
And then into the shoulder.
This poor woman's
Well, she's paralyzed.
Oh, duh. Yeah, okay.
Anyway. And so Leonardo was like, fuck. Well, now she had to pull the axe out of her shoulder and then did it again.
Oh,
and got her in the head that time.
Gosh.
After killing her with the axe, she dragged her body into a closet where she cut her body up into 9 parts, all while collecting the blood in a basin. This is an actual description from Leonardo herself that she left in her memoir.
Whoa, okay.
I threw the pieces into a pot, added 7 kilograms of caustic soda, which I had bought to make soap, and stirred the mixture until the pieces dissolved into a thick, dark mush that I then poured into several buckets and emptied into a nearby septic tank. As for the blood in the basin, I waited until it had coagulated, dried it out in the oven, grounded it up, mixed it with flour, sugar, chocolate, milk, and eggs, and as well as a bit of margarine. Kneading all the ingredients together, I made lots of crunchy tea cakes and served them to the ladies who came to visit. Even Giuseppe and I also ate them.
This broken bitch. What the heck, dude?
Actual quote from her memoir.
Dang.
Some sources also record that Leonarda apparently received Facetti's life savings, which was 30,000 lire.
Okay.
That's the currency, lire, Lire.
Okay.
As payment for her services. Here's 30,000 for helping me find a man.
Okay.
The Book of Equivalent Exchange said the process of human sacrifice was going to be easy. Well, to Leonarda, she didn't feel like this was very easy. Like, she fucked up the first hit. It was messy. There was blood all over my shop. I had to clean it up and everything.
Then I had to make all these fucking tea cakes. It was a nightmare.
Yeah. She goes, well, didn't seem easy. Well, what if it wasn't a good enough exchange? Maybe I should do another. Like, what if this one sacrifice wasn't enough to save my son?
Because she's diving into all this satanic bullshit, and it's tricking her and making her do all the wrong things.
Well, after several weeks passed, nobody suspected Leonarda of the crime of Facetti's murder. She began to plan her second human sacrifice, which would be Francesca Sovi. Unlike Faustina, Francesca was a former school teacher and an active person in the community and didn't have any children of her own. She was actually a recent widow in desperate need of work since her other half had just passed away.
Okay.
So she turned to Leonarda for help. Which Leonarda said, luckily for her, she actually knew of an available and well-paying job at a girls' school in the northern city of Piacenza.
Okay.
But she would have to go quickly because the job would not be open for long.
Oh, my God. So here, come over here and let me help you.
Uh-huh. Like with Faustina, Leonarda convinced Francesca to write letters and postcards to friends, this time from Correggio, detailing her plans, but leaving out the location of where she was going.
Okay. Why?
So that nobody could stop her.
Uh-huh.
But also because they're like, oh, we don't know where she went. Well, she's gone. So Leonarda doesn't have to explain where she went. Yeah, you know, right? The day before Francesca left, she came to the shop. Mistake number 2. It's always the day before they leave.
Yep.
Sits down in the shop talking with Leonarda about how excited she is. Leonarda brings her a glass of wine, which was drugged.
Howard.
And then took her Power Ranger ring. Then she looked deep into her eyes and embraced her. And this is done with a lonely heart. Anyway.
Nice.
I'm just going to cut that part. So, the day before she left, she came to see Leonarda. Leonarda gave her the glass of wine, which was drugged, and proceeded to kill her with the axe. Leonarda, this time, when she killed with the axe, hit her with one good swing to the back of the head, Pappin style.
Oh, nice.
I told you I was going to get it in every time. Once she knew she was dead, Leonarda then went through her belongings.
Not nice that this woman got chopped in the back of the head with an axe. I'm just saying, good job, Richard, for the Pappin style.
Then went through her belongings to find anything of value, then got rid of the rest.
Wow.
She once again dismembered the body, but carefully this time, so she could save the flesh and fat to make some good old soap.
She made tea cakes the first time.
The blood was once again dried and turned into tea cakes.
Oh my gosh.
And any remaining flesh or body parts that Leonardo deemed useless was thrown into a container with caustic soda and poured behind the house in a ditch.
Whoa.
She was stated...
So all gone.
Saying that she received 3,000 lire from Francesca. Well, so I'll let you know, she's like, 2 human sacrifices, this has got to be it, or whatever.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Well, there's one more, third and final victim. This one just seemed more personal.
Uh-huh.
It didn't seem like she was doing it for her son's sake.
Uh-huh.
Her third victim was Virginia Caciapo.
Okay.
Who was a former soprano opera singer, said to have sung at the La Scala. Leonardo was known to respect her, but was also jealous of Virginia because she was successful and beautiful. They actually became real close friends until one day Virginia decided that she missed the excitement of urban life and wanted to get away from the village. Leonardo took this as a betrayal of their friendship and that she was abandoning her. So, Brian, you know how you're moving? I think this is a betrayal of our friendship. And you're abandoning me.
I'm sorry, Richard.
I'm going to turn you into cakes and soap.
Turn me into burgers and feed me to people.
Okay.
I could be cool with that.
No, I gotta turn you into a protein shake.
It's like a piece of...
It's all organic. To those who don't know why we're laughing, it's because Brian is a health freak and eats organic.
I wouldn't say a health freak. I love beer, you know. I love treats and stuff like that.
She told Virginia that there was an available secretarial job in Florence under an impresario.
Okay.
Which is a person who organizes and often finances concerts, plays, or operas, basically a producer. When Virginia arrived to the shop on the morning of September 30th, 1940, Leonarda's plan didn't go off without a hitch. Virginia kept refusing her offer for wine. She's like...
Yeah, there's only so many times you can offer that.
Brian, you want a glass of wine?
Duh, let's do it. I got beer in the fridge right now. Let's just drink that.
You hear you collapse.
Oh, gosh.
She took her time drinking this wine, though. She drank it slowly. Eventually, though, it immobilized her, took effect. Leonarda laid her on the floor, flat on the floor, and began removing all of her jewelry and anything of value from her body and putting it in her pockets. Just imagine you're completely immobilized, Brian, and I just start taking anything of value off of you.
That would be awful.
And you're watching me do it.
Uh-huh, for sure.
She then went and got the axe from the other room, lifted it high above her head, and one hard blow brought it down on her chest.
Whoa.
And it was said that she let out one gasp and then was gone. This was her best friend.
That she was all jealous of.
Because she wanted to leave.
Please don't kill me with an axe, Richard.
She then dismembered the body and saved any usable parts for soap and tea cakes. Here's another quote from Leonarda. I remember more, Brian. She ended up in the pot, like the other two. Her flesh was fat and white. When it had melted, I added a bottle of cologne, and after a long time on the boil, I was able to make the most acceptable creamy soap. I gave bars to neighbors and acquaintances. The cakes, too, were better. That woman was really sweet.
Whoa.
Once, after Giuseppe got home from the war, she demanded that he used a bar of this soap made from Virginia. And he would like,
How
no.
twisted
it's
is
like,
this
no,
woman?
Mom, why do I need to use this bar of soap? Well, then she forced him into the bath and scrubbed him with it.
No, she didn't.
Yep.
He's a grown...
And then afterwards, had some lovely tea cakes.
Oh, my God.
With her son.
This is insane.
Now, Leonarda got away with the first two. However, Virginia's sister-in-law, Albertina, came knocking one day saying that Virginia had told her about the job offer that she had heard from Leonarda.
Oh, no.
And she told Virginia not to say anything to anybody.
Uh-huh.
She began bombarding Leonarda with questions, to which Leonarda responded with, "I'm sorry," and shut the door. Albertina then went around town asking about Virginia and learned that 2 other women had also gone missing after entering Leonarda's shop.
Ooh.
She then took her suspicions to the police, but it was also 1940s. DNA wasn't a thing. Yeah. So there wasn't a lot of evidence to even find. However, evidence that they did have were the postcards that each woman wrote. So Leonarda gave these letters that she had all these women write to her son to mail. But her son didn't know anything about it. He was like, okay, I'll drop it off for you. With this information, they arrested him, even though he unknowingly did it. When Leonarda realized that her son was being blamed and taking the fall for, she went to the police and confessed to everything.
Of course.
They also didn't believe her at first. They're like, why?
They're like, whatever. You're just
whatever.
You're just trying to save your kid.
She took him to the places where it was. She showed him the soap. She showed him the tea cakes. She told that she fed people to other people. Because of World War II going on, she was held in prison for 6 years before being able to stand before a judge.
Whoa, jeez.
She would state that everything she did was worth it to save her son. She basically was like, and I'd do it again.
All in Italian.
And I'd do it again. Leonarda was found guilty and sentenced to 30 years in prison and 3 years in a criminal asylum.
Wow. Left and right hand. Yep.
One or the other. She ended up dying of cerebral apoplexy, which is a sudden bleeding in the tissues of the brain, interventricles, or into both. So basically, she had a stroke.
Yeah, all the stress and shit finally took her out.
In the women's criminal asylum in Pozzoli on October 15th, 1970. A number of artifacts for this case, Brian, including the pot in which the victims were boiled in, are all displayed at the Criminological Museum in Rome.
Whoa.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Leonarda Cianciulli, the Soap-Maker of Correggio.
Where can I get one of these tea cakes, though? That's where I'm at. I'm like, come on. Can't...
These cakes can taste like a penny.
I bet, because there's a whole market for this thing. I bet you could find this woman's recipes online. What? I guarantee you could. So the soap maker of
Correggio.
Of Correggio?
Correggio. So it's Corrieggo.
Correggio.
E-O.
Correggio.
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 The soap maker of Correggio.
Mm-hmm. It was like a whole sweeping drama.
It was like a telenovela.
Well, yeah, it really was. The whole. Well, her poor mother, like.
But remember, Brian, you betrayed our friendship. I'm gonna turn you into soap.
I was going to say super quick that this whole story reminded me of a Tales from the Crypt episode. It's about this woman. She is married to this wealthy businessman, and I can't remember the exact circumstances, but at the end, she murders him, and she tosses his body into like this giant soap maker in this factory, and it pumps out like all these bloody little soaps.
Yeah.
And she takes them home, right? And she's washing
Brian.
her body. She remembers this video explaining how soap shouldn't use animal fat and things like that because it contains like bodily acids. And as she's remembering that, she starts fucking burning, and she's like, ah! Like Wicked Witch of the West like melts into the fucking...
Brian, I got something to tell you.
Huh?
Leonarda Cianciulli inspired that episode.
Did she? Oh, whoa, okay. I've got to read the original.
I don't remember
story.
what it's called.
Like 94
I remember
something
when I was
percent.
finishing up my research, it said like inspiration, and it said Tales from the Crypt.
That was one of them, yeah.
I didn't read what episode it was. It just said Tales from the Crypt.
It's a pretty good one. It's an okay one. And that was Real Horrors.
Take it away, Brian.
Nice. Welcome to Horror Reels, where we review horror films and TV shows. So, The Strangers Prey at Night. I absolutely love this movie. It was directed by Johannes Roberts. I believe that's how you say it. Johannes.
That's probably Johannes.
He wrote and directed both 47 Meters Down and its sequel,
I have not
Uncaged.
seen that.
Oh, dang it. Okay, they're cool.
I know of it. Is that that's the shark one, right? With
Yeah.
the two girls that are in a cage and...
Oh, he also directed the reboot for Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which was all right. The Strangers Prey at Night was written by Brian Bertino, who wrote and directed the original Strangers, and Ben Katai. So just jumping right into it, the film opens with a black screen, and we get some brief introductory credits as Kim Wilde's Kids in America kicks in on the soundtrack, and we suddenly cut to a dark street at night, lit by a single yellow lamppost, and the music has cut out. An old pickup slowly rounds the corner and approaches us. Its headlights are cutting through the dark, and we can hear Kids in America quietly playing on their radio, and it slows and pulls into a driveway, and it parks, and the lights shut off. And we cut to the interior of a mobile home, and it's night, and two residents, two old-timers, are asleep in bed. It's a husband and wife, played by Ken Strunk and Mary Louise Casanta. I hope I said that right. The wife is suddenly woken up by knocking at the front door, and she crawls out of bed all tired and into the dark of her home, and she turns on a light as she comes to the front door, and she peers out the front door window and eyes the pickup truck that we just saw in her driveway, but it's empty. And so she chains her front door and turns away from the front door, and standing in the dark of her home is Dollface, one of the strangers, played by Emma Bellamy. Now, Dollface is the blonde one.
Okay, yeah.
Right? She's got that kind of doll-like mask.
I can't remember which one I've seen, but I've seen one of the Strangers movies, so I know I know the faces.
I'm going to pull it up real quick just
like
so you
the
have
bag
it to
head,
see.
and she always pulls up and she's like, is what's her name here?
So there's Dollface, right? Dollface, you've got the man in the mask, and you've got Pinup Girl.
Is it just man
Wife
in the mask?
material. Yeah, the man in the mask.
Well, the thing I got to know about, are they a family, the three of them?
I don't know. But again, it's just one of those things that's better left unexplained. You know, they're seemingly under his direction. That's.
I mean, I didn't get they're called the strangers.
Mm-hmm.
They're just strangers to each other? Are they strangers to you? Are they strangers...
The strangers to the people they're attacking.
I guess that makes sense. Is there a reason why they attack these people? Is there a reasoning, or is it just they would happen to be there?
Do you remember the first movie at all?
Kind of.
Okay, so I'm just going to go into...
Wait, hold on. I'll tell you which one I remember. Tell me which one it is. It's a family, and I think they were just on a motorhome, or they had an RV or something. Am I thinking of a different movie?
It sounds like Campfire Tales or something.
Maybe I'm thinking of a different movie.
Campfire Tales isn't, we got to do that one on this
There's
podcast.
a brother and sister, I know that. The strangers come, and they're all running.
That's what this is. That's Pray at Night.
No, this one I've seen before, though. It was it had to be the second one, probably.
So The Strangers Pray at Night is part 2. You've got The Strangers. Mm-hmm. This is the second
one.
Oh,
then I've seen the first one. Sorry.
Okay. So the first one is about the couple. It's Liv Tyler and, gosh darn it, I can't remember his name, but it's this guy and this gal. I believe they're in town for their friend's wedding, and they're staying over at this Airbnb or whatever it is. And the fella, his plan was to he was going to ask Liv Tyler to marry him, because who wouldn't?
Oh, yeah, okay. I thought it was teenagers. Nope. It's this one. Scott Speedman, by the way.
Thank you, Scott Speedman. Thank you so much. So Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman, and Scott asks Liv Tyler to marry him. She says no, and now they are staying overnight at this thing together anyway.
Doesn't he end up getting murdered?
The whole movie is very nihilistic just in nature. It's just so chaos and death, and then it's over. The strangers come in, they taunt them. This guy accidentally kills his best friend who comes to check on them. He accidentally shoots and murders him because he thinks it's a stranger. It's not. All this chaos all night. The movie ends with the strangers getting these two ultimately tied down in the living room in the wee hours of the morning, and sunlight's coming in the windows, and they just fucking stab him to death. And then that's the movie, unless I don't remember correctly, but they just murder these guys, and then they get out, they encounter some Mormon kids and take their pamphlet, and they get in their truck and they duck out. And that's the movie. So they just murder these people and get away with it.
That sounds about right.
It's a classic, and I can't deny that it's a classic. Just to me personally, watching The Strangers Pray at Night, its sequel, I just enjoy it more. It's just so much more engaging and fun to me, and that's why we're here reviewing it today.
All right.
So the viejita has heard the knock at the front door, and she sees the empty truck outside. Viejita, like old woman.
Okay.
Old woman turns, and she sees Dollface standing there, and she says, "What are you doing in my home?" And we cut to the interior of the bedroom where she just was. It's dark, and we're focused on a beautiful German Shepherd asleep in bed next to an old man, the husband. And someone approaches from off frame and lightly pets the dog before kneeling into bed next to the husband. And we pan around to see it's another stranger, pinup girl, as she settles in behind him, laying down like his wife just was moments before, kind of spooning him. And then we cut to our title card, The Strangers Pray at Night. So we open on a wide shot of the city of Cincinnati, Ohio, next to the Ohio River, and it's a beautiful day. And we pan down to our dad, Mike, played by Martin Henderson, and he's packing luggage into the back of the family vehicle. We cut to the interior of Kinsey's bedroom. Kinsey is played by Bailey Madison. I know that she's a singer now, and she did some work as a kid. I'm not sure exactly what. Maybe some Nickelodeon or Disney work. At this point, she's playing about a 17-year-old, and she's sitting on her bed, and she looks super bummed out with tears in her eyes, and she has luggage packed. And her mother, Cindy, played by Christina Hendricks, enters the doorway of the bedroom, and she's watching as Kinsey is, sadly looking around her room. Now, super quick, Christina Hendricks has been in a number of projects, but I think most people would probably know her from that show. It's all suits and booze and corporate. Oh, fuck, what is that?
Oh, God.
You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Mad Men.
Oh, I know of it.
Okay, yeah, I never saw it either, but in that show, at least, she is just the epitome of the redheaded bombshell. It's just what it is. She's beautiful, and she's got the hair, and she's very curvy, and just
Jessica Rabbit ass.
Yeah, very Jessica Rabbit, 100%. She could play her in a live action. That's the gal that we're dealing with here. But in this movie, they really play her down a lot, and it works really well. She does well as a mom. So Cindy is looking in on Kinsey, and Cindy tells Kinsey that it's time to leave, and she offers to take her luggage, and Kinsey has a fucking attitude and says that she needs a minute and that she can take her own luggage. And Cindy kind of puts her hands...
I like you said that, Brian. You bring out your dad energy. God, she has a fucking attitude.
Yeah, because when I was reviewing this movie again, I couldn't help but I'm watching the main character, Kinsey, and a lot of the time I really just have a hard time sympathizing for her because she's such a fucking brat. I can get my own luggage. And Cindy puts her hands up as if saying no problem, and she just walks out, and Kinsey watches as her mom goes all pissed and bitter. We cut back to Mike outside packing luggage into the back of the van as Kinsey exits. And Mike is super cheerful and friendly with his daughter, and he's telling her that despite all of her luggage, he is the Tetris king. And Kinsey is pissy and says nothing and just gets in the car. And Cindy approaches Mike, who looks kind of hurt. He's a good dad. He's just trying to be happy for his kid. And from his conversation with his wife, we established that Kinsey's being taken somewhere for some sort of disciplinary purpose. That's what this trip is about.
Well, it sounds like she deserves it.
Something's going on. We also established that they still have to pick up Kinsey's brother Luke from a ballpark before they can head out, and they're already running late. Lastly, and most importantly, from Mike and Cindy's little interaction with one another, we get the sense that they are a team, they are united, and they are very much in love. And so Mom and Dad lock up the back and get into their mom van, and we watch our family drive away through a cute little suburban neighborhood. And we cut to the ballpark as our family pulls up in the van, and in the background, there's an impromptu game with Luke and his friends, and Luke is pitching. Luke is played by Lewis Pullman. He's the son of Bill Pullman, the president from Independence Day, but he's gone on to establish himself in a number of films. I remember him best from this, and he played Ben Mears in the newest iteration of Salem's Lot, and he did well enough.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
I have mixed feelings about the
Salem's
movie
Lot
itself.
Stephen King?
Yes. Oh, the book is so scary. It's so scary.
But the movie's not?
I appreciated certain things about it, and it's kind of unfair to compare the two mediums because it's like a movie has 2 hours to tell the same
That's like
story.
the Harry Potter books of the movies.
Yeah, because there are people that don't like the movies but love the books. So Luke is pitching, and Cindy calls out the window for him. His shoulders slump in disappointment, and he gripes that they just started a new game before saying goodbye to all of his friends. And we cut to the interior of the van with all 4 members of the family, and Mike is driving, and Cindy's in the front passenger seat. And you got the 2 kids in the back, and now it's looking like late afternoon. Luke is pissed that he has to go on this trip, and he wants to know why he can't just stay home by himself. Mom and Dad are not about it at all. And Cindy, the mom, tells Luke that it would be nice for him to see his sister off to her new school. She then makes a phone call to her aunt and uncle, and she leaves a voicemail explaining that they're not going to get to Gatlin Lake until late. So we establish that they're on their way to visit family. They're going somewhere called Gatlin Lake. They're not going to get there until late tonight. Luke and Kinsey begin tussling in the back seat after Kinsey tells him he smells horrible. And Mike tells them to stop, and he asks if they remember their Aunt Cheryl and Uncle Marv. Luke comments that he remembers that Uncle Marv smelled like wet dog and beer.
Oh, lovely.
Kinsey knocks Luke's cap off of his head, and Luke is a dick and kind of quietly tells Kinsey, you know Mom and Dad are going broke to send you to boarding school. And Mike says, hey, he doesn't know that, to which Luke queries, then why did you guys cancel the cable? And their parents say nothing. And Luke whispers to Kinsey that he's right. And she asks if he thinks she wanted this, and Luke says that she likes the attention. And Kinsey says, you're a dick. Luke calls her a queef.
Ew. I mean, well...
Just totally what a brother would call his sister growing up around the same age. I would never call my sister that, but I don't know. She's also like almost a decade older than me. It's just
Imagine
different.
if you called her that, what would she do? She would just look at you like, what the
She'd probably come back with something worse. that cut deeper.
And you're like, oh.
No, my sister's awesome. So Cindy up front is like, whoa, like don't say queef, And Mike, it turns out, has no idea what a queef is.
Oh no.
And he wants to know, and no one will answer him.
Like a typical dad.
Yeah, he's like, what's that? Which I don't know. How do you not know what a queef is, dude? Come on. So we cut to the exterior of a diner called Fillmore's Dairy Hut, and it's night, and Kinsey sits against the front of the mom van, and she's smoking a cigarette. She's kind of leaning against the front of it. And inside the diner, Mike, Cindy, and Luke are sitting at a table with menus, and the 3 of them, Mom, Dad, and Luke, are discussing Kinsey and how she's throwing a fit outside. And Cindy decides to go talk to her. So back outside, we see Cindy approaching Kinsey at the van, and Kinsey is still smoking. And she's also wearing a Ramones t-shirt, and it's too much. It's like when you see people wear like a Beatles t-shirt in a movie or something. It's just so like nobody wears that, and it's like trying too hard, and it's just Yeah. This girl's got a Ramones t-shirt on for the rest of the movie. And it's usually hanging off of one shoulder or the other, depending upon what scene they were shooting that day, I guess. But anyway, the scene is one shot, and it starts with a wide shot of the exterior of the restaurant and parking lot at night as Mom is approaching from the restaurant, and she meets Kinsey at the front of the van. Now, it's shot from across the street, and so throughout the scene, we get cars zooming in the foreground.
So we're seeing, is it like somebody's watching them from across the way?
Yeah, and it's not anybody's POV, but that's certainly what it looks like. It's from across the street, and it's night, and there's a random car zooming in front of the camera, while the entire scene we're just slowly zooming in on Mom and Kinsey. Cindy does the cool mom bit, and she snags the cigarette from Kinsey, and she takes a long drag, and she hands it back, and she tells her to get rid of her smokes before they get to the new school. And Kinsey says, God forbid she should get kicked out, to which Cindy ominously replies that the school isn't going to give up that easily.
Oh.
And Kinsey shoots back, not like you and Dad.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here we go.
Yep. And so Cindy says she wishes someone had done it for her when she was a kid. And from their conversation, we're establishing that Kinsey has been on some sort of downward spiral through the last year, and she's been getting into a lot of trouble, though what exactly that entails is never fully explained. Cindy expresses that she and Mike are worried for Kinsey, and Kinsey says they no longer have to worry, and that now it can just be the three of them, the mom and dad and Luke, just like they always really wanted. And Cindy is hurt that Kinsey says that, and she asks if Kinsey actually believes that. And Kinsey looks at Mom hatefully before taking a last drag from her cigarette. By the way, she does not pull the look of the smoker vibe. I'm not trying to be mean, but I would bet money this girl was not a smoker when she filmed this movie. And she's great. I'm not ripping on her. Just it is what it is. She takes the last drag and she flicks it on the ground and she stubs it out and leaves her mom at the van.
And then she starts singing, "Oh, you're the one that I want."
No.
From Grease.
Why? What?
What are you looking at, stud?
I don't remember. Is there a cigarette part?
Yeah, he goes, "I got chills." You know that?
Uh-uh.
Oh my God, Brian. Okay.
Well, I never got into Grease. I was never big on musicals.
Oh my God.
Except for Sweeney Todd.
That doesn't matter. Everybody likes Grease.
That's okay. It was
like
just
Rocky
never for
Horror?
me. Even Rocky Horror isn't really for me. I like to go with you guys because it's a big, fun Halloween event. But like the movie itself, I'm not the demographic they're shooting for. But I still
first time you watching it was freaking hilarious.
Oh yeah, but I still I don't sit there and hate it. And Susan Sarandon, by the way, is a total smoke show in that movie. The wife,
Janet.
Yum. Anyway, yeah, just never got into musicals. But no, they do not start singing. She flicks the cigarette and she grounds it out with her foot, then leaves Mom at the front of the van.
Hardcore grinds it out like that.
Yeah, all pissed. She leaves Mom at the van. And so we cut to the family driving, and it's night, and they come around a bend on some country road and cross over a small bridge past a sign that reads, "Gatlin Lake Getaway welcomes you." And we see the family pull into what looks like a huge trailer court. And as the audience, we're slowly realizing that this is the same property that the old couple lived on in the beginning of the film.
Now, quick question. Is that old couple the aunt and uncle?
Maybe.
Yeah.
The pieces are slowly coming together. I would have
watched the movie and figured it out immediately.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a big mystery, but certainly, they take their time getting there. But we see them.
The dog smells like wet dog and beer.
Yes, and there's a dog there, and they look like an Uncle Marv and Aunt Cheryl.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so this is Gatlin Lake Resort, and it's like this huge piece of property with numerous single and double wide trailers planted sparingly throughout, and they're all interconnected by a series of small concrete roads, dimly lit by yellow bulbed street lamps. And so the place looks absolutely empty, and as they drive, Mike is asking, "Is anybody here?" So we're watching the family van cutting through the resort's desolate and empty roads before pulling up to a small building that looks like a general store, and it's dark inside and the store is closed. Cindy exits the passenger side and approaches the store, and it's unlocked, and she enters, flipping the lights on, and it's a cute campground general store, cabin style,
cabin style?
Cabin. Well done. Cabin style, cute little general store, and Cindy's passing her eyes over the interior, and nostalgia's written on her face, and she approaches the front counter, and she finds a note and a key to Unit 47, and she reads the note before exiting, as we pan over to the paper on the front desk.
Before you continue, Brian, I'm going to open my second...
Liquid Death.
Liquid Death.
Heck yeah, dude. So good.
This time I got Killer Cola, the cola flavor. I kid you not, I've lost a couple more pounds.
Switching to that?
Because
dude.
It's because of that low sugar count.
Instead of drinking pop.
Well, I could drink like literally 10 of these, and that's one can of soda.
I bet you don't feel like shit as much too, huh?
No.
Yeah, because that stuff, the soda will weigh you down.
Well,
big
it's
time.
funny because when I was working, one of the merchandisers was like, "Oh, I can't drink that. It tastes like metal."
Fuck yeah, it does.
I'm like, because it
tastes like metal in your mouth.
Death metal.
Yeah, tastes like death metal.
It's funny because when I first tried Liquid Death, I tried like the actual like sparkling water, and I was like, it didn't taste good, but
didn't like it.
Like the teas, the lemonades, and the sodas are actually really good.
I liked it immediately. I tried the Dead Billionaire. I think that was the first one, and then I tried like I want to say like Grim Reaper or one of the.
The Grim Reaper's one I tried, and I didn't like it at the time, but I tried it recently, and it was really good. Mm-hmm. But it might be because I'm drinking these now, and so the flavor's there.
Yes, because we overload ourselves with all these chemicals and sugars and bullshit, and so it's hard to drink something reasonably made like this at first. It's like you have to adapt to it because it's like not this, you're not getting your tongue raped.
Like don't say that word
by
man.
Mountain Dew. Your tongue isn't being sexually assaulted by Mountain Dew.
Just say assaulted. Why did that be sexual?
Very, very sexual.
The Mountain Dew's like, yeah, take it.
Yeah.
No.
Oh no, Mountain Dew's gonna hate us. I love Mountain Dew.
Mountain Dew me.
Oh, good lord. Baja Blast, Taco Bell, bean and cheese burritos, no onions.
Diablo.
Mild sauce is the OG, but yeah, I love me some Diablo. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Liquid Death is the shit. Mountain Dew's pretty good, and Taco Bell is very okay. All right, so the wife has read the note, and she takes the key and heads out the door, shuts out the light. As we pan over to the note that she just read, and it looks like it was written with a closed fist, like a child. And it does.
I'm sorry.
No, it does. It reads, Trailer 47, make yourselves at home. See you in the morning. Love, Uncle Marvin. With a janky-ass smiley face drawn at the bottom. The lights shut off, and we hear Cindy exit as the camera continues to slowly zoom in on the note. Back in the car, Mike is rubbing his eyes as his wife re-enters the passenger side, and she informs him of the note, and they pull away. We cut to the family van, driving on one of the resort roads as it pulls into the gravel driveway of Unit 47. As the audience, we see that there's a small mailbox at the end of the driveway with the same jacked-up smiley face printed on the side, but because of its positioning, the family doesn't see it when they pull in. And so we cut to the interior of Unit 47, and it's a single wide trailer, and it's dark. And the front door opens, and Cindy enters, flicking the lights on, followed by the rest of the family. And the family begins settling in, and we see Mike open the fridge in the kitchen, where he finds some boxes of takeout Chinese food, and he snatches a box, and he's like, beef and broccoli. Much to
God.
Yeah,
How long has that been there?
Exactly, that's what she asks him. She says something like, is that even good? And he's like, it smells good. And she's trying to talk him out of eating it. She's like so disgusted. Mike doesn't give a shit, and he takes it.
Ew.
Cindy, meanwhile, opens a bottle of wine and searches for wine glasses, but she can't find any. And Mike flirtatiously tells her to chug, woman. And
It's on the bottle.
So she loves it, of course, and Cindy coyly asks Mike if he remembers when they went camping in the Rockies. He snuggles up.
Aren't they kids with them?
Yes. They're right there. And he snuggles up to her at the counter as she takes a swig straight from the bottle, and he says, that's exactly what I was referring to. And there's a sudden knock at the front door of the trailer. So Mike and Cindy playfully ponder if it's Uncle Marv because he smelled the wine before Cindy volunteers to answer the door. Why the fuck this man is letting his wife answer the door at this time of night is beyond me. It's just the truth. What are you doing? But that's just me. Cindy opens the door to pitch black nothing in the middle of the night. The porch light is out, and there's a young blonde woman standing in the dark of the porch.
And then you can't see her face because that's the strangest thing. Where it's like, is Tamara home?
So she's standing there in the dark of the porch, and you can't see her face, like Richard willingly informed us.
She looks like one of those interviews for a killer documentary where it's like the faces are hidden in the darkness.
Her voice is distorted, and everything she's saying is like this.
That was really good.
Thanks, man.
There was no audio trick there. That was Brian's natural talent. Anyway.
Thanks. And so she's standing there in the dark, all creepy, and you can't see her face. Cindy asks, "Can I help you?" To which the young woman replies, "Is Tamara home?" And Cindy says, "I think you have the wrong trailer." And after a brief pause, the young woman on the porch says, "Okay," and swiftly exits down the porch steps and into the night. And Cindy and Mike watch her walk away before shutting the door, dismissing the encounter with a shrug. So I don't fucking know why. You're just like, okay, whatever. Like, they're literally just like, huh. Just close the door. I would be on DEFCON 4 at this point. Yeah.
But realistically.
Oh, but and Eve, I stay in a hotel and stuff. I travel and shit, and you get a weird knock at your door, like you got to be on point after that.
If a young girl knocks on your door, it says
solid point.
It's Tamara home. You
especially
know, but
the
I
crazy
am.
ones. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Daddy is. She's like, "Oh my God."
Okay.
Yeah.
Turns around and walks away. Like, wait.
Yeah.
You said okay.
So Cindy and Mike watch her walk away, and they watch her walk away, and they shrug it off, and they dismiss the encounter. And we cut to the exterior of the trailer, and it's a slow zoom in on the front door to indicate the passage of time. And now inside, Mike and Cindy want to play a card game with Luke and Kinsey, and they ask them to get off of their phones. And Luke reluctantly agrees, and he sets his cell phone on the dining room table. But bratty-ass Kinsey isn't having it and continues listening to music on her headphones, all pissed. Dad strolls over to the couch where Kinsey sits and squats in next to her, and he asks her to join the game and levels with her that being a parent is hard and that he and her mom are worried about her. And Kinsey looks down at her lap and slowly removes her earpiece, and she wraps the cord around her phone and hands it to her dad before getting up and exiting the trailer. Mike chases after her to the door before she slams it shut, and he ponders going after her, but Cindy insists it will only make it worse and asks Luke to find Kinsey and talk to her. So Mom asks the brother, "Go talk to your sister." Luke, of course, doesn't want to go, but Mike insists that Luke please listen to his mother. So Luke goes out into the night, and Mike closes the trailer door behind him. So now the two kids are gone. So we cut to Luke wandering the dimly lit grounds of the resort, dark trees surrounding him. We cut to shit attitude ass Kinsey, who sits atop a picnic table under a park shelter, smoking a cigarette, and there's a small playground nearby. Luke approaches, pulling the cool brother bit, and she asks what he's doing here, and he says that Mom sent him to hang with her. And she's all annoyed, and she calls their mom a bitch. And Luke says, "Just being dramatic." And Kinsey says, "Yeah, you think?" And Luke says, "I meant you." And Kinsey tells him to fuck off, and she's all pissed and fake smoking. And Luke tells her, "Look, they're sending you away, boo-hoo." And Kinsey's like, "Well, you're moving out soon. It's easy for you to say." And Luke tells her that it'll be the same for her and that she'll be able to be whoever she wants, once she's an adult. And Kinsey takes another fake drag of her cigarette before Luke snatches it and flicks it away. And Kinsey walks off into the dark. And we get a shot of Luke standing next to the playground. And he then walks after Kinsey, revealing behind him a blonde figure standing beyond the playground deep in the dark of the background.
Ooh.
And so we cut to the interior of Unit 47, and Cindy stands in the bathroom freshening up at the sink. And Mike, the dad, stands in the next room looking out a window into the night. Mike asks Cindy if she thinks they're doing the right thing by Kinsey, and she says she does and that they've tried everything else. Mike agrees, and he approaches the doorway of the bathroom. And he comments that it'll be nice to have the house to themselves again. He approaches Cindy and embraces her from behind and comments that they can do it on the couch again.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
But I get it.
Absolutely. Kid's gone. Gonna violate this whole building. So Cindy is vacantly staring at herself in the bathroom mirror as Mike holds her, and she comments that she looks so tired. And Mike tells her that she's beautiful. And they're standing there holding one another in the bathroom for a moment before there's another sudden knock at the front door. And Mike turns his gaze towards the door and asks if they locked the kids out, and Cindy says they didn't. And Mike heads to the door and answers it, and it's the blonde gal again standing in the dark of the porch. And she asks once more if Tamara's home. Mike asks if she's lost and does she need them to call someone. And he asks if she's okay before the blonde takes off into the night once more.
Without saying a word?
Without saying a word.
Oh,
Ducks out.
Okay.
He's like, "Are you okay?" And she's just like, leaves. And it's another wide-framed, slow-zooming shot from Mike's perspective as he watches her march through the front yard and across the road, strolling into the shadows of the grass beyond, before she slowly comes to a stop. And she's standing in the grass, and after a moment, she turns around and she's staring back at Mike. And she's just far away enough that the details of her face can't be caught. and then she turns and continues walking away. Behind Mike, Cindy asks if it was the same girl from earlier and wonders where the kids are, and Mike shouts into the night for Luke and Kinsey, and of course there's no answer. So Mike then turns to the light bulb above the front porch, which is off. He reaches up, twisting it tight, and it suddenly illuminates. So this gal obviously walked up and unscrewed this thing. We cut to Luke and Kinsey strolling down a paved road, passing by multiple trailers as they go. Luke asks Kinsey if she remembers following Luke to the ballpark as a kid, and she says yeah, that he never let her play. And Luke says she could barely lift a bat at that age. Luke hands her a rock from the road, and he tells her to wind up for the pitch. And Kinsey starts looking around, and she calls a nearby mailbox and nails it dead on. And Luke is impressed, and Kinsey jokes that he should have let her play. And Kinsey asks Luke, what do you think Uncle Marv and Aunt Cheryl do here all alone in the winter? And Luke guesses that they probably have lots of filthy porno sex.
Ew.
And they both laugh together as the camera pans around them to reveal the face of a nearby and unlit trailer. Its front door is wide open. Kinsey makes the first move, heading to the trailer as she teases Luke, asking if he's scared. And he says he isn't, and he follows close behind. They enter the dark trailer, and there's a small kitchen and dining area to the immediate right, and a larger living area on the left. And Kinsey begins searching the kitchen cabinets before spotting a bottle of hooch. And she shows Luke, and they agree to do some shots. And suddenly there's a muffled noise in the back room of the trailer. And Kinsey's like, let's get out of here. And Luke, meanwhile, tells her wait and begins walking towards the sound, and he asks if anyone is there. And Kinsey's like, seriously, dude, let's bolt. And Luke still insists upon investigating the strange noise in the room next door and continues to pace forward. And the sound comes a second time. It's a large thud.
And you start hearing Kids in America.
Yeah. And I love that about these movies, the soundtracks, by the way, because the first movie utilized like old weird country western and like folk music. And this one, it's all like random 80s pop hits. It's awesome. Luke heads to the back room of the trailer, and he opens the door, and it's a dark bedroom, and there's a sudden whining bark of a dog as it charges out and into the night, jump scaring the audience along with Luke and Kinsey. And they laugh it off for a moment before we see both of them notice that there's a putrid smell in the air. They cover their noses, and Kinsey tries flipping the light switch, and there's no power. You ever have a nightmare like that where you can't turn the lights on? Luke opens the curtains of the bedroom window to let light in, revealing that the word hello has been written in what looks like red lipstick repeatedly over and over again on the glass of the window. Hello, 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 all over it.
Ooh.
And Luke's like, what the fuck? As Kinsey now notices a large slumped figure sitting in the corner, and there's a bloody white sheet draped over it. Kinsey hesitantly approaches the figure as Luke watches on, and she pulls the sheet off, and we cut to an exterior shot from outside the window of the trailer as the mangled corpse of Uncle Marvin and Aunt Cheryl are revealed. And what's cool about that shot is because the reveal of the dead bodies is shot from the outside of the trailer, we as the audience can only see just enough. We see that they're clearly cut up and mangled, but the fact that we only barely see it makes it all the more gruesome somehow. Kinsey and Luke understandably shit their pants and duck out, and they're sprinting out of the trailer and down the road. And we see Luke lead Kinsey away from the road and across a stretch of grass into a wooded back section. And after a moment, they stop running, and they're frantically trying to decide which way to go next. And they suddenly run straight into Mom and Dad and nearly shit themselves again. The four of them have run into one another, and Mike and Cindy, the mom and dad, want to know what is going on. And Luke immediately explains that they found Uncle Marvin and Aunt Cheryl, and they're all cut up and dead. And Mike asks if this is some kind of joke, and Luke swears that he wouldn't joke about something like this, and reiterates that they found Marvin and Cheryl's bodies, and he swears he's telling the truth. And Kinsey speaks up, and she tells her parents that Luke is telling the truth. Mike wants to know where Luke and Kinsey found the bodies, and Luke tells him. And Mike wants to see for himself, and he tells Cindy and Kinsey to head back to Unit 47, lock up, and call the police. So this is just a bad decision, and I don't think there's any sound reasoning for this bad decision other than the convenience of the plot.
Yeah, basically they're having a Scooby-Doo split up.
Why the fuck would you do that?
No, stick together.
Yeah.
Power in numbers.
Not only that, but he sends the mom and the daughter off. And I'm not saying,
oh my God.
I'm not saying that all women are incapable of defending themselves, but certainly these two characters do not come across as like fighters, you know what I mean? And he's sending them off, and he's like, so Dad is like, okay, everybody split up, and me and Luke are going to go check this out. And he sends Mom and Kinsey off. Just seems like a bad decision. And we cut to the interior of Unit 47 as Cindy and Kinsey enter and lock the front door behind them. Cindy locks up and turns to her daughter and asks if Kinsey is okay, and Kinsey is short of breath and she's crying, and Mom embraces her daughter. She's telling her that they're going to be okay. And Kinsey, pressed against her mother, is looking to her right, and she spots something on the dining room table. And Mom follows Kinsey's gaze, seeing what she sees, and immediately begins glancing around the interior of the camper. And Cindy approaches the table, and we see a pile of the family's 4 smashed cell phones.
Oh.
Cindy begins trying to power each one on until finally succeeding, but the screen is so badly cracked that it lights up with no legible imagery. You know what I mean? It's just light. And still somehow Cindy manages to dial 911, though the sound cuts in and out. And Kinsey turns from her mother to see the blonde doll face standing behind her, clutching a large kitchen knife. And Kinsey is terrified and wordlessly calls to her mom. Cindy turns around and sees Dollface, who slowly approaches Kinsey and her mother. Kinsey and Cindy retreat backwards into the back of the trailer as Dollface paces to the counter, dragging the knife slowly back and forth across the surface before stabbing the knife down into the countertop suddenly. Kinsey and Cindy scream, running to the back of the trailer through a small bedroom and into the bathroom.
No, quick question. When you say trailer, it could be trailer as in like a double wide or whatever, where it's like a house?
Yeah, there's double wides and single wides, it looks like, in this place.
So it's not like a trailer, like a trailer behind a car.
No.
It's like
I guess I just called them trailers. Yeah, they're campers, I guess, or what would you call them?
Mobile home? No, manufactured home.
Yeah, it's a manufactured home, basically.
Kind of like,
yeah,
right.
It's a huge property of manufactured homes.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, that's better.
Because whenever you see trailer, you think like what you tow in a truck.
Wheels. Yeah, like you like it's gonna trail you somewhere. Okay, yeah, you're right.
But it is a trailer park also. It's called that.
As a matter of fact, that's why movie trailers are called trailers, because they used to play them at the end of the movie.
That's weird.
They used to play previews at the end, and so they called them trailers.
That's weird. So you have to stay after the movie to watch. It's coming out soon.
Yeah, that's how it used to be. But anyway, so you're right. They retreat into the back as Dollface paces to the counter. Oh, I already said that. And she slams a knife down into the countertop. Kinsey and Cindy scream, and they run to the back through a small bedroom and into the bathroom before they slam it shut. They slam the door shut and lock the knob. The phone isn't working, and Cindy throws it into the bathtub in frustration. And Cindy and Kinsey watch on as the knob slowly begins to twist back and forth. The knob stops turning, and there is silence. And Mom and daughter are watching on, and after a moment, there's a far-off noise from the living room. And after another moment, we hear "Living It Up" by Mental as Anything, played loudly but muffled from the living room. So another random 80s pop hit is playing in the back. Because the Strangers love a good soundtrack. Every time they're trying to murder somebody, they're putting music on. Have you ever noticed that between these two movies? We cut to an overhead shot looking down through a ceiling window as Cindy, the mom, is ushering Kinsey beneath the window and boosts her up. Dollface begins smashing through the flimsy bathroom door as Kinsey pushes through the ceiling window, and she's climbing out and onto the trailer roof. Kinsey reaches back down into the bathroom, and she's reaching for her mom, trying to help her up. But the reach is too great, and they can barely even touch one another's fingers.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah.
Another thing that's going to happen, like, I'm sorry, if I'm in this situation, I'm like, bring it on, bitch, grab the towel rod.
See, I'm glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, because this part is really silly to me.
Like, this blonde girl, she looks like she's early 20s. This isn't like...
Yeah. She's like...
Overpower her.
Yeah,
There's two of you.
There's two of you. Like... pelvic thrusted that bitch. I don't know what that move that I did was.
You and your mom freaking, like, just take her out, pull her hair, freaking slam her head against the wall. Like,
there's
Jesus.
Like she's got a knife and a mask. Whoa.
Oh,
like,
God.
Yeah, grab the back of the toilet Saw style and do this bitch's head in.
Boom.
Like, yeah, 100% something.
Grab the fucking anything.
Mm-hmm.
Toilet brush, I don't know.
I have a bad time feeling bad for either of these bitches
Don't
watching
get me wrong,
this thing.
like, it's like, if she had a chainsaw, okay, that's another story.
That's another thing. Then you're panicking. But she's got a knife and she slammed it into the counter. Oh, no. Like,
punching the wall door and, okay, kick the door in on her. Like,
yeah, dude,
fuck.
Stomp this girl. But no, Dollface begins bashing through the door. It's a cheap, manufactured home door.
I know what you're talking about.
She's bashing through it, and she's coming in, and Kinsey continues watching down into the bathroom, screaming as Dollface enters behind Cindy. This is a very silly death. So Cindy keeps her gaze pointed up at Kinsey on the roof, as she's pleading with her to run. She's just like, run, baby, go. Ugh. Like, fully aware that a grown woman with a knife has broken in behind her and is now slowly approaching. And meanwhile, Dollface is melodramatically taking her sweet-ass time walking towards Cindy, and knife in hand like a stage villain, before before finally embracing her from behind. And Kinsey continues screaming, and Cindy continues pleading and not fighting before Dollface finally begins stabbing Cindy to death. And both Kinsey and her mom are absolutely shocked as to what has just occurred.
We're all shocked.
Yeah. So Cindy's stabbed to death as Kinsey watches on before Kinsey finally decides to frickin' bolt. She jumps off of the roof and runs into the night. And we cut to Mike and Luke, who are approaching the exterior of Cheryl and Marvin's trailer. And Mike tries telling Luke to wait outside, but Luke protests and tells Mike that he's already seen it, and he goes in with him. And so Mike goes first as the two guys enter the dark of the trailer, and they feel their way through the darkness near blind as they approach Marvin and Cheryl's bedroom in the back, and we begin to hear the buzz of flies. And Mike and Luke enter the bedroom, and Mike sees the bodies off camera, and he looks shocked and short of breath, and he tells Luke that they need to call the police. And Mike asks Luke if he has a phone on him, to which Luke answers he left it at their trailer. That shit's gone. Mike and Luke exit back into the living room, kitchen, dining area, and Mike begins searching the trailer before finding a phone mounted to a wall. The phone, of course, does not work, and Mike finds that the phone's cable has been cut. He finds an old school answering machine nearby, and the new message light is flashing red. Mike hits play. He and Luke listen to the voicemail left by Cindy earlier that evening. Mom, informing Cheryl and Marvin that her family's running late and they'd get there, sometime that night. And there's a sudden crash against the exterior of the camper, and Mike and Luke squat low to the floor next to the kitchen counters, pondering what the hell that sound was. And there's another crash as something comes shattering through the kitchen window above the sink. And Mike yells and stumbles over to a nearby window, peering out through the blinds. And we cut to Mike's perspective as he stares out the window, and we're focused on a lone swing set perched in a field of grass, and a single seat swings idly. Mike tells Luke that they're going to get back to Mom and Kinsey, and that when he says they're going to make a run for it, and Luke agrees. So Mike peers out the window another moment before telling Luke, go. And Luke gets up and sprints to the door and then stops abruptly in the doorway. Mike approaches Luke, who stands frozen in the doorway, staring out into the dark of the night, and Mike comes to him and peers out and sees the man in the mask is standing in the street, facing the doorway of Cheryl and Marvin's camper. And he's a tall, wide figure in a tattered old suit and tie with a scarecrow bag head worn as a
now
mask.
this guy I'd run from.
I
would run from this guy.
And he carries a single axe that he holds at his side. He's scary. And he's kind of like a hulking Frankenstein type figure. Mike slams and locks the door shut, and he's peering out the window, and the man in the mask doesn't move. Mike begins frantically searching the interior of the trailer now, telling Luke that Uncle Marvin should have a gun somewhere. It's like, why didn't you already do that? So Mike eventually finds a carrying case with a snub-nosed revolver and ammunition stored inside. It's a sexy little gun, and he begins loading it. Luke asks Mike if he knows how to use it, and Mike confirms that he does. And so gun in hand, Mike heads to the front door and shouts that the intruder has 5 seconds to leave before he starts shooting.
Don't do that, just shoot.
Just fucking do it. I know. Let him find out. Don't tell him. Mike yells outside that he has 5 seconds to leave. The man in the mask has 5 seconds to leave before Mike's going to start shooting. And in response, another brick comes shattering through the living room window. Bring it on, bitch. And so Mike starts counting down from 5, and he reaches 1 and swings open the front door ready to fire. And the man in the mask is gone. And Luke checks the rear windows and sees no one. And Mike tells him it's time, grabbing Luke by the shirt and dragging him out the front door and down the porch steps. And Luke and Mike go sprinting into the night. And we cut to Kinsey doing the same, sprinting through the dark before coming to a tall fence. And Kinsey looks up to see rolling barbed wire attached to the top. And Kinsey begins screaming for help through the fence. And behind her, slowly emerging from the shadows, is Dollface, knife in hand. She's steadily approaching. And Kinsey turns and sees her, and Dollface begins quickening her pace towards Kinsey as Kinsey bails, running off camera. So we cut to the exterior of Unit 47 as Luke and Mike approach, and they run inside, and the interior of the trailer is still lit, and Mike and Luke immediately find the family pile of smashed cell phones on the dining room table before Mike turns his gaze towards the bathroom in the back. And Luke and Mike see that the bathroom door is closed, but the center has been smashed through, and Luke dashes forward to investigate, but Dad stops him and heads back first. And so Mike is slowly approaching the doorway before swinging it open, and we follow behind as the interior of the bathroom is revealed to us and Mike, and there are bloody handprints up and down the wall below the opening in the ceiling, and we see Cindy's body draped headfirst into the bathroom sink. Mike goes to her and pulls her head up, seeing no life in her eyes, and he begins weeping as he clutches his dead wife. Outside of the bathroom, Luke asks, "What is it?" before entering the doorway. Mike suddenly stops weeping, yelling no at Luke before nearly tackling him, shoving him out of the bathroom. It's too late, however, as Luke has seen his mother's mutilated body, and he too begins weeping. And the audio briefly fades, replaced by this growing and high-pitched ringing that overcomes the soundtrack. We, as the audience, can barely comprehend their muffled and rushed conversation. The ringing dies out and the audio returns, and allowing the audience to hear Mike telling Luke they need to leave and find his sister. And Luke appears shocked and confused, but agrees, and they flee. And so we cut to a wide shot of the exterior of Unit 47, surrounded by utter darkness, as Luke and Mike exit the cabin and sprint for the family van, and they enter, backing down the driveway and driving down the road. And as they drive, they yell for Kinsey, searching the night to no avail. And they turn a corner, Mike in the driver's seat, Luke in the passenger, and they're continuing their search, and they're yelling Kinsey's name. And suddenly the windshield nearly smashes in as something blunt and heavy is chucked at the van. Mike loses control of the vehicle, blindly turning and skidding before crashing nose first into the porch of a nearby trailer. Huh?
Was it another brick?
It was something. It must have been.
Yeah.
But some big-ass thing just whoosh into the windshield, and they go crashing, and the van obliterates the front porch and caves in the front of the trailer, and it comes to an abrupt stop, and the horn wails loudly. And in the front seat, we see Mike slumped over and unconscious in the driver's seat. And we cut to Kinsey crying and gasping as she continues her escape on foot, and she comes around the back of a trailer unit onto the street, and the camera pans, revealing a large pickup parked on a grassy knoll, facing her with the lights out. And Kinsey slowly paces by, eyeing the pickup, and we can see that there is a lone individual in the driver's seat. And she begins to hesitantly approach the vehicle, and we can hear 80s pop music playing softly from inside the pickup. And the engine starts, and the headlights come on, and they flood Kinsey in blinding light, and the engine revs loudly before the truck comes barreling down the grass at Kinsey, who narrowly escapes the blow and is on the run once more. And the driver in the pickup, the man in the mask, calmly looks after her as she goes. We cut to Kinsey sprinting in between two fenced basketball courts as the pickup rounds the corner behind her, headlights illuminating the night, and Kinsey flees to a nearby playground, diving headfirst into a small T-shape of crawl tubes made out of stainless steel. You remember those? She finds those crawl tubes, and as the truck slowly circles, 80s pop music cranking from the speakers, the brake lights from the back of the pickup illuminate Kinsey. The crawl tube she occupies is otherwise pitch black, but the brake lights are super red. And Kinsey's watching from inside the tube as the pickup continues circling around before coming back around, blatantly pointing its nose and the headlights into the front of Kinsey's crawl tube. Like, I know where you are. And the truck engine begins revving loudly, and it's clear that the man in the mask knows exactly where she is. And so Kinsey, in the dark of the tunnel, screams at the truck to leave us alone! And suddenly, from the dark right next to her, another stranger, pin-up girl, peers out of the darkness, and she calmly tells Kinsey, "But we've just started." And Kinsey screams, flailing as she exits out of the side of the tube, as pin-up girl calmly watches on, making no effort to chase after Kinsey. And we cut back to the interior of the crash family van as Luke awakens and eyes his surroundings. He's in the passenger seat, and the van horn is still protesting its death cry. And Luke,
Sorry.
No, it's okay. And yeah, absolutely. And so Luke begins shaking his dad awake, who is slumped over in the driver's seat. And Mike eventually comes to. Blood is streaming down his face, and he screams in pain. And we see, along with Luke and Mike, that a long 2x4 has crashed through the windshield and into Mike's stomach, into the dad's stomach.
Through it?
Mm-hmm. And so he's pinned to his seat, and Luke is panicked, and he tells Mike he's going to try to take it out. And after a very brief attempt, Mike yells in agony, and Luke stops, and he tells Mike to tell him what to do. And Mike eyes their surroundings, and he tells Luke that he needs to duck out. And Luke protests and doesn't want to leave his dad, but Mike stresses that Luke needs to find Kinsey and that she needs him. So Mike tells his son to retrieve the gun from the glove box, which Luke does, and he gives him a quick crash course on how to use it. And Mike is in agonizing pain. He's crying, he's gasping as he speaks. And Luke thinks to himself for a moment before turning to his dad, and he tells him that everything is going to be okay, that he'll go find Kinsey, and they'll call the cops and get an ambulance. And Mike looks into his son's eyes, and he holds his gaze, and he tells Luke, "I'm proud of you." And as a dad, this is a hard scene for me, because Mike clearly knows the score. He's going to die. And what do you say to your child, like knowing very well it's going to be the last time you'll ever see each other. Like you'd want to say something that's going to stay with them.
Brian.
You know? What?
Don't bring me the feels.
Don't bring the feels. Oh, there's more feels coming, Richard. I'm sorry. There's feels coming. I know you don't do good with the emotion stuff, but you might have to bear with me a little bit later. He tells him that he's proud of him, and Luke nods and smiles, and he tells his dad that he knows before exiting the truck, and he closes the passenger door behind him. Mike, pinned to the driver's seat, watches his son go, and once Luke is gone, Mike silently cries to himself. And outside the driver's side window, we see the man in the mask standing a short distance away, observing, and Mike is in too much pain to notice. And the man in the mask then paces around the back of the trailer, disappearing. And Mike breathes heavily, doing his best to bear the pain. And out the front passenger window, the man in the mask comes around the back of the trailer and calmly approaches the truck door, opening the passenger side and getting in. He closes the door behind him, silently staring forward as Mike begins struggling against the wood, pinning him down. And he's yelping and gasping. And the man in the mask reaches forward and calmly starts the radio, searching through the stations. And Mike has begun weeping, and he's pleading with this guy, and he's asking him what he's doing. And the man in the mask settles on a station, another 80s pop tune by Kim Wilde called Cambodia. It's a good one. And he takes his hand from the dial as Mike continues pleading with him to please leave his family alone. And we're focused on the man in the mask who stares coldly at Mike. And from off camera below, his hand slowly rises into frame, and he's holding a small ice pick.
Oh!
And Mike, it's either a small ice pick or a small screwdriver, but it's small and sharp. And Mike is screaming and pleading, desperately trying to pull away from the 2x4 that has him pinned to his seat, and of course it's no use. And the man in the mask continues holding the ice pick up, and he looks at it, and then back at Mike. And Mike is sobbing now as this guy stares into his eyes, slowly leaning in as he painstakingly brings the ice pick towards Mike, just fucking with him. And Mike begs once more before the man in the mask plunges the ice pick into his throat, and Mike's eyes widen in shock, and blood begins spilling from his mouth as the man in the mask looks directly into Mike's eyes, watching him slowly die. And the scene stretches on for way too long and is borderline unbearable to witness. Nevertheless, Mike eventually succumbs, and the man in the mask pulls the ice pick out of Mike's neck, and he casually wipes the tool on his own suit before reaching forward and shutting off the car radio. He then sits alone in the quiet, blankly staring out the shattered and smashed windshield as Mike sits dead at his side. Anyway, so that pickup truck, the man in the mask, is now driving it around, and we see it circling around a corner on the property, and it's passing through the trees and by various trailers. And we see Kenzie nearby, who continues her panicked sprint of the resort grounds, and she comes around the corner of the exterior of a trailer to find that old pickup slowly driving nearby, and she quickly hides back behind the camper before it passes. And we see Luke searching the grounds where he...
Quick question, who's driving the truck?
The man in the mask.
But I thought he was with the dad.
Yeah, he was. And then he was with him, and then we cut to him driving the pickup now.
Oh, okay.
Searching the grounds, right? He's looking for Kenzie. Kenzie sees him, and she hides behind a manufactured home. We see Luke searching the grounds, and he's screaming for Kenzie, but he doesn't find her. And meanwhile, we cut back to Kenzie, who enters an empty trailer, and she shuts the door behind her, and she gathers herself, and she's gasping for breath for a moment before she hears, of course, a noise in the back of the camper. And Kenzie, ever the intellectual, slowly starts making her way to the back of the camper towards the source of the sound.
Every horror movie. Bitch,
yes. What was that? There. And then the slow pace. And so she enters an empty bedroom with cheesy pink comforters on the bed, and she rounds the corner of the bed, and there's a small Jack-in-the-Box winding away on the floor.
Oh, God.
It's like some haunted house shit. No way. Kenzie sits on the bed and picks up the Jack-in-the-Box. And the top flips open, and the Jack-in-the-Box comes out with a whine as Dollface suddenly stands up from the dark behind the Jack-in-the-Box, revealing herself to Kenzie. And this moment is particularly effective and scary. Very well done. So Kenzie shits herself twice as Dollface tackles her to the ground, and she stabs her in the leg with a large kitchen knife. And Luke suddenly enters the doorway of the bedroom with Uncle Marvin's gun pointed at Dollface, and Kenzie scrambles away from Dollface and joins Luke. She's standing with him as Dollface slowly approaches them holding the knife. And Luke is clearly shook and tells Dollface to drop the knife, and she does. And the knife clatters to the floor. And Dollface, behind her mask, chuckles to herself as she stares at Luke, who is visibly nervous. We zoom in on the revolver as Luke's grip is tightening on the trigger. And Dollface asks Luke if he's going to shoot her. And Luke keeps the gun pointed at Dollface. and he's shaking as Kinsey tells her brother to just give her the gun, and Luke does not give her the gun or fire, but instead insists that Kinsey run. Lots of bad decisions, and she does, and he follows after her as Dollface gives chase. So Luke and Kinsey run out into the road as a car approaches. It's the truck, and they run. And we cut to Luke and Kinsey sometime later, who break into the back of another empty trailer and hide. They climb through a window, and Kinsey is starting to realize how severely she's bleeding, and Luke carries her to a couch.
An artery?
And she's bleeding pretty heavy from her leg where she was stabbed. She was stabbed, it looks like the thigh somewhere.
So probably, femoral artery.
Somewhere, yeah. Because
she's going to bleed out.
And so Luke carries her to a couch, and he dresses her wound and comforts Lindsay as she begins to panic about what's happening to them. And it's a nice moment between brother and sister. He distracts her with a story from their childhood, from about how he broke his leg, and it's a sweet little moment between them before he suddenly tightens the dressing on her leg, causing Kinsey to gasp in pain. And after a moment, Lindsay begins to tell Luke that it's her fault that their mom is dead, that they wouldn't even be here if she hadn't been such a fuck up, and she begins to cry. And Luke is a wonderful brother to her, and he tells her that it's not true and to shut up. And he tells her that they've got to get to a landline and call the police.
I'm pretty sure all the landlines are cut in this place. Mm-hmm. The entire park.
Suddenly, that old pickup truck comes crashing through the living room window.
Jesus.
And the headlights, the living room wall. And the headlights are fixed on Luke and Kinsey as they curl up in fear on the couch. And we cut to the outside of the trailer as the pickup suddenly backs up, preparing to ram forward again. The camera pans to the back of the trailer as Luke and Kinsey come stumbling out of a window and tumbling down onto the yard below as the pickup crashes into the trailer once more. Kinsey's having a hard time going along with the injury in her leg. And Luke has her hide beneath a porch of an empty trailer with like a lattice. So he hides her beneath the trailer, and we cut once more to that vicious and beat-up old pickup truck rumbling along as it stalks the resort grounds in search of Luke and Kinsey. And we cut to another wide and slow zooming shot of the front of the general store as Luke approaches the front porch and cautiously glances around before entering. Now inside, Luke finds a landline phone and dials 911. And he gets through, and he tells the operator that he and his family are being stalked by crazy people trying to kill them. And the operator asks for his address, but he doesn't know it, only that it's some trailer park. And then he remembers that it's called Gatlin Lake before the line is suddenly cut. Luke looks into the dark of the store as he hears a door slowly open and then suddenly shut. And he puts the phone down on the counter and glances around in the dark. And the store starts coming alive around him, a slushy machine suddenly turning on and emitting a creepy old tune. Luke finds a nearby golf club, a driver, the one that Happy Gilmore uses when he tees off, you know? It's essentially just a small rounded brick at the end of a long, skinny handle. Yeah, exactly. Luke carries it like a bat as he searches the dark of the general store.
Okay, finally, so a little bit of brains.
Yes. And so the golf club clearly shakes as Luke is searching. He eventually comes to a window where the man in the mask bangs against the glass and scaring Luke backwards.
So he has the driver. See, I would have chosen a 7-iron or a 9-iron.
Mm-hmm. With a smaller head?
Yeah, but it's easy. It's metal. Drivers usually have a fiber. Not a fiber. It's not metal.
Mm-hmm. So the handle could break.
It's composite, and so it's breakable. You can snap it like a stick.
Especially those little guys being made out of metal. That would fuck you up.
That's a 9-iron, yeah, or a wedge.
It wouldn't be as wide of a hit, but it would still. Man, try getting hit in the head with that at full force and see how you feel.
You're dead.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah, 100%. So you might have a point. But he's got the driver.
I golfed, Brian.
Oh, did you really? Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know that.
I was on the golf team in high school.
Whoa. Okay, that's
2
cool.
years, yep.
You must have liked it then.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't the best at it. I was like number 5 on my team.
Okay. Out of
6.
Damn, that's all right.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I wasn't bad. It's just they were just better than me.
Sure. No, I feel it. So, okay. So he's got this driver in his hand, and he sees that window, and man in the mask comes banging from the outside, bangs on the window, and Luke goes shambling backwards. And suddenly next to him is Pinup Girl, who calmly paces nearby and stares at him. And Luke frantically exits as Pinup Girl stares on, watching him leave. And we cut to Luke exiting into the night.
Does he still have the gun, too?
Why doesn't he have the gun? I don't know where the gun is.
What is it? Did they leave it in that building where the truck came through?
That had to be what it was. That had to be it, because the truck comes through. I didn't think of that. He doesn't have the gun, but they're in there, and he's, obviously had to put it down. He's dressing her leg and comforting her and stuff, and then the truck comes and they've got to make a quick escape.
And then never grabbed it again. Oh, God. Okay.
For sure. So he doesn't have the gun anymore. He's got the driver. And so we cut to Luke exiting into the night out of the back of the store, driver in hand, passing by a sign that reads, "Pool closed, no swimming allowed." Luke rounds a corner into the dark of the pool area, and he comes to a wall of concrete and steel railing, and we see him realize that he can't climb out because it's way too tall. It's all gated.
Oh, lovely.
Right? And so suddenly the electricity powers on, and the multicolored and neon-soaked lighting on the palm trees all around the pool area suddenly come on. We hear a song come into play, and it's Bonnie Tyler's Total Eclipse of the Heart slowly whirring onto the soundtrack. And so now the pool scene is brightly lit up, and you've got neon greens and pinks and blues, and it's just like, it looks like this little like Florida pool, cheesy swingers pool scene kind of thing. But the set design is just so awesome, but lots of lights and very 80s cool aesthetic and Total Eclipse of the Heart. I will also go down right now as saying that this is one of the greatest songs of all time, period. If you don't love...
Oh, my God.
Dude, if you don't love Total Eclipse of the Heart, you're fucking lying. We cut to a wide shot of the entire pool area. Neon lighting and Bonnie Tyler playing. We can see the whole concrete area of the pool and everything. Off in the far right corner, backing away from that concrete wall, we see Luke as he begins to search the edge of the pool. It's this wide shot, okay? We see Luke kind of start to search the pool area. And from the dark behind him, we suddenly see Pinup Girl running towards him with a large knife. This is one shot, and she's got this knife in her hand, and she's running at him. And the camera suddenly zooms in on the two of them, 70s style, total Black Christmas, as Luke turns and smacks this bitch in the head with the golf club. Right? Just fucking boom! Takes her down. So gratifying. And so Pinup Girl immediately drops to the concrete. And Bonnie Tyler wails that, "If you only hold me tight, we'll be holding on forever." Luke stares down and approaches Pinup Girl, and he's wide-eyed and in shock about what he's just done.
Oh, my God. Who cares?
He stoops down, and he takes the knife from her hand. Bonnie Tyler doesn't know what to do, and she's always in the dark, as Luke reaches for Pinup Girl's mask to remove it, and we see her eyes suddenly bolt open, and she wakes, and Luke snatches the knife from her side, and suddenly, very awkwardly, begins stabbing her repeatedly, over and over again, and just smokes this girl. And blood is splattering the front of his shirt and his face as he shakes from the adrenaline of the kill. And to me, just watching that in the theater, that was such a shock. Like, fuck, they fucking killed one of them. Like, that was crazy to me.
Well, good thing.
And so, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, woo.
And so, yeah, well, it was just shocking to me. So blood has spattered the front of Luke's shirt, and his face is shaking from the adrenaline. And in this moment, he's clearly just a kid, and this is something strange and painful to him. And Bonnie Tyler croons that there's nothing she can do. It's a total eclipse of the heart. And Luke sits stooped and blood-soaked in the flashing neon glow as he hears metal scraping along the concrete.
Oh, God.
And Luke looks up, seeing the man in the mask approaching, dragging his axe along the concrete ground, as Bonnie cries that now there's only love in the dark. And Luke comes to his feet and begins backing up, and he starts taunting the man in the mask, and Luke tells him, "I got one of yours. How does that feel?" And the man in the mask suddenly sprints towards him, and they're poolside, and he's swinging the axe at Luke as Luke frantically jumps backwards, avoiding the edge of the pool, each time nearly, barely missing the blade. And the man in the mask swings once again at Luke, who tumbles down to the ground and into the pool. And we cut to him deep in the water, frantically pushing himself up toward the surface. And Luke emerges from the water, and the man in the mask suddenly swings the axe down at him and misses, hitting the concrete corner of the pool. And Luke wraps his arm around the axe and pulls the man in the mask into the pool with him. And the two of them wrestle under the surface of the water before emerging. And we see that Luke has Pinup Girl's knife in his hand as the man in the mask plunges the two of them back down into the water. And the two of them are fighting for possession of the knife underwater. And we cut to another wide shot of the neon lit pool, calm and serene, as Bonnie Tyler needs us more tonight, and she needs us more than ever. The camera suddenly drops and dives down into the water where it's just chaos, revealing Luke and the man in the mask still wrestling for the knife and tumbling over one another. Very cool. We see the knife drop from Luke's grasp before he escapes the man in the mask, and we see him swimming underwater toward the surface. And we cut to the surface of the pool with a shot straight on of Luke reaching the surface and approaching us approaching the camera as he attempts to stride and trudge through the shallow depths of the pool, and the man in the mask breaks the surface of the water behind him, giving chase as Luke attempts to flee. And it's a long and agonizing shot, and you're watching him try to trudge through the water, getting away from this guy, and you're going, go, 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 like he's almost there. And Luke is approaching the camera as the man in the mask chases after him, and he's approaching like a shark before inevitably catching Luke, wrapping an arm around his chest, and he plunges a knife into his back. Luke tenses and freezes up in the water as he's stabbed, and blood suddenly pours from Luke's mouth as the man in the mask wrenches the knife in Luke's back, and red clouds begin to stain the pool as the man in the mask casually releases Luke, staring after him floating in the pool for a second before striding away, and Luke is left dying floating at the surface of the pool and pathetically trying to scrape his way along as he bleeds out, and Bonnie Tyler screams that forever's going to start tonight as deep red clouds slowly but surely surround Luke, and Luke continues his crippled and inefficient backstroke along the surface of the water as Bonnie Tyler cries that once upon a time she was falling in love, and the camera follows Luke along the surface of the water as he begins to drown. It's slow and painful, and the camera dips down under the surface of the water as Luke dips down. The music is drowning out, and back up above the surface of the water as he comes back up, and Luke gurgles and gasps, blood splashing from his mouth as he ambles along. Total eclipse of the heart comes to a fade as Luke falls once more beneath the water, and we come back up just enough to hear Kenzie, muffled but very close, calling for Luke. Luke scrambles backwards to the wall of the pool, and the camera reveals Kenzie kneeled down at the edge, reaching out and grabbing for Luke. Kenzie pulls Luke from the water over the edge and onto the surface of the concrete, and Luke is in a daze and continues gurgling blood. All right, so just to share my heart, again, I know that these things can be awkward, but if you just hear me out, I'd like to express why this movie means so much. So I saw The Strangers Pray at Night in theaters in March of 2018 when it came out with my sister Melissa. I saw this movie in the beginning months of what was easily the darkest, hardest, most awful season of my life. My ex-wife and I were in the very early stages of divorce. We were separated. My 3 boys and I were living with my mom and her husband, and I was seeking full custody of my kids. We were very much escaping a situation that had become increasingly violent and abusive. Without going into all of the nitty-gritty, there were obviously some mental health issues with my ex. The boys and I had witnessed our home being destroyed on numerous occasions. Once I even had to lock my sons and I in a downstairs bedroom, barricading the door with furniture while I called the police. It was awful. And so at this time, when I'd seen this movie, we're a couple of months into the separation, and the whole thing had left me mentally broken. Things that had never been an issue before were suddenly a big problem. I couldn't stand sudden noises, big or small, as they would send me into a full-blown panic attack. A panic attack itself was entirely new to me, where you're just clouded and your heart is racing and you can't think and you're struggling to breathe and it feels like everything is closing in. I had a fear of being out in public that I had never had before. I feared daily for my own safety and the safety of my kids. And there was so much up in the air, specifically with the divorce and my seeking full custody, and there were just too many tabs open in my brain. And so I started seeing a professional, which was hugely beneficial, and the term post-traumatic stress disorder comes up, and I come to find that now I have to learn how to manage that. In the meantime, I'm adapting to becoming a single parent and learning what it's going to be like and what it's going to entail and demand of me, raising these 3 wonderful, beautiful boys. And it was all worth it, by the way. All to say that during this time, everything was chaos and fear and uncertainty all the time during this time period. But movies have always been a comfort to me, and specifically the horror genre has always held a special place in my heart. And so going out in public and seeing this movie in a theater with my sister was one of the first attempts at a return to some sense of normalcy. So we're watching this movie, and it's kind of a standard slasher in a lot of ways, but it does its job well. And I remember the end credits rolling, and my sister and I turned to each other and shrugged, and we were like, that was pretty good. We liked it. It did its job. But specifically the pool scene. I remember sitting with my sister in the dark of the theater, and I'm watching this scene, and not only being swept away by what was happening on the screen and the soundtrack, but also it turned out to be this therapeutic experience. And not to be all full of myself, but I saw myself in Luke watching that scene, and I saw this man who was inadequately struggling to fight this fight that he was destined to lose, and it reminded me of my marriage and how inevitably it was broken from the beginning, and it was going to end, no matter how hard I fought. Not only watching him fight this losing battle, but then eventually succumbing to the inevitable, and it nearly breaks him, and he's dying, and he can't find his way anymore, and he's about to drown, and then his family pulls him out of the water. It makes me think of that time when the people that mattered most in my life swooped in and circled around me and took care of me as a community. My creator, my mom, her husband, my dad, his wife, my grandfather, my mother's dad, who's no longer with us, and you, Melissa, sitting there in the theater with me. I just want to say thank you all for pulling me out of the water. But yeah, I certainly would like to offer some hope to anybody who's been through anything like that. To be clear, my boys and I have had a happy ending. I did get full custody. They're well loved and adored, like a little bit too much. Like, I have a hard time ever sending them off for an evening too much. Like, I just really want them all the time. I adore my 3 boys. They're 150 billion% the best thing that ever happened to me. And so we're happy, we're healthy. Everything turned out cool. It's because of a long, hard road. It's because of my family, and it's because of my creator. And so, once more, just thank you to everyone, and thank you, Melissa, for taking me to this movie. So, back to the movie. So, she's dragged him out of the pool now, and she's supporting Luke and walking with him, and he's got his arm around her shoulder, and she leads him to a hiding place nearby, and she sets Luke down, and she tells him to wait for her, that she's going to go get help. So we cut to Lindsay limping through the resort grounds, and fog and shadow surround her as she stumbles along, and nearby stands Dollface watching as Kinsey searches the grounds. Kinsey stumbles and trips into a road nearby as a large vehicle comes to a halt in front of her, and its headlights are glaring. And Kinsey stares into the bright lights, and she's unsure, and we hear a friendly voice say, "Hello? Are you okay?" We pull back to reveal it's a police officer, Officer Brooks, played by Preston Sadler, who exits the vehicle and approaches Kinsey, and he slowly helps her up from the concrete. Kinsey tells him that she needs help and that they need to find her brother, that she left him at the clubhouse, and he's waiting for them. The officer assures her that everything's going to be fine as we see Dollface suddenly approaching Officer Brooks from behind, and she reaches around and slits his throat with her kitchen knife.
God.
So Officer Brooks falls to the road, and he's bleeding out on the pavement as Kinsey jumps into his patrol vehicle, and she closes and locks the door. And Kinsey's frantically searching the interior of the vehicle looking for the keys, to no avail. And there's a tapping at the driver's side window, and we get a nice homage, or a blatant ripoff, of Scream, as we see Dollface standing at the window. She's tapped on the window. We see Dollface standing there, and she's got her fist clenched, and she opens it to reveal a set of keys dangling from her finger. So 100% Ghostface moment, but still very cool. And Dollface easily unlocks the door and enters the vehicle, and she's crawling on top of Kinsey and slicing her repeatedly with a knife. And Kinsey fights back, and she's kicking and shoving Dollface back out of the vehicle. Kinsey finds and quickly unlocks a mounted shotgun,
oh shit!
victoriously pointing it at Dollface, who stands still in the door of the patrol unit. Kinsey cocks the gun and smokes this bitch right in the gut.
Fuck you.
You're right. Number 2.
Oof.
Yeah. Richard, it's literally, she goes flying backwards. Like Django style. She's clearly on a harness or something. Dollface is sent flying back, and we hear her land on the ground. We stay focused on Kinsey in the interior of the vehicle as she sits shocked for a moment before finally making her way out of the vehicle. And the camera pans from focusing on Kinsey to following her gaze down to Dollface on the ground, shot and bloodied, choking and painfully crawling backwards as Kinsey approaches. Kinsey reaches down, flipping Dollface's mask off of her head. And this is the first and maybe only time at the present moment that we as the audience ever see one of the strangers fully unmasked.
Was she ugly?
Shit. I thought she was all right. I thought she was a cutie.
Okay.
Like she very
I've seen your type, Brian.
But she very much gives off like the type of chick that would be like brainwashed into this kind of thing, if that makes sense. The casting's pretty perfect. I don't know. She just looks like the type. She looks like a Manson girl or something like that.
Okay.
So she flips the mask off, and it's just this young girl. She's blonde, her mascara's running, super hot. And there's no ghoul or monster or thing from beyond the grave or anything. It's just a person. That's the thing. It's just a person. And to see it so blatantly in the light is like strange almost. They momentarily stare at each other for a moment before Kinsey asks, like, why? Why are you doing this? And Dollface begins chuckling to herself, and blood is dripping out of her mouth.
Ew.
And she coolly asks, why not?
What?
And we get another nice wide and slow zooming shot of Kinsey standing over the dying Dollface. The patrol unit's parked next to them, the lights are flashing, and Kinsey suddenly fires, executing Dollface. Absolutely shocking and cheer-worthy moment. So awesome. And so that's 2 down. Kinsey looks like she's in shock, and she slowly turns back to the patrol unit, which is a small Jeep. And she enters the unit and closes the door behind her, and she begins crying to herself. And in the dark behind her, we see 2 headlights suddenly turn on. As Kinsey is processing everything that has happened to her tonight, the light suddenly charges towards the back of the patrol unit with a roar, and the stranger's big old beat-up pickup truck slams into the back of the small Jeep, and it sends Kinsey flying forward, bashing her head against the steering wheel.
Papin style.
Yes, Papin style. That's 2 now. And so the pickup looked at...
3 in this full episode.
Is it 3, really? Oh, yeah, you're right. Dang it. So the pickup looks absolutely totaled, but it still roars with life, and the man in the mask revs the engine numerous times before pulling around to the side of the patrol unit, all casual. And the truck stops, and the man in the mask stares at Kinsey as if they're in traffic, and Air Supply's song, Making Love Out of Nothing at All, emits from the inside of the truck. Have you heard that song?
I think I might have.
Another obscure 80s pop hit, random. The song continues throughout the rest of this scene. It's playing from the inside of the truck. After a moment, the truck slowly pulls forward and turns right and away from Kinsey, and she watches it driving away. And Kinsey seizes the moment, and she attempts to ignite the ignition, but she can't start the Jeep, and she begins to panic. And we see the pickup now has made a large circle and is now facing the passenger side of Kinsey's Jeep. So it's come back around, and now it's at a T-shape with her. And the pickup comes in hot. Yep, it's going to T-bone her. The pickup comes in hot, blaring down a small hill of grass. And Kinsey attempts to start the vehicle one last time before the pickup smashes into the patrol unit's right side, nearly toppling the Jeep. The pickup backs up furiously, stopping to rev its massive engine once again before it comes barreling into the side of the patrol unit once more. It looks like a big old diesel pickup. It looks like an old Ford. It's a badass little vehicle.
Isn't it red? Like a red?
No, it's like brownish yellow, like that kind of 70s, 80s color palette. Super cool, sexy. I would drive that truck. It's awesome. The pickup backs up furiously, and it stops to rev its massive engine once more before it comes barreling into the side of the patrol unit again. And Kinsey has crawled out of the driver door just in time before it crashes, and she stumbles away. And she comes.
Got the shotgun?
No. Damn. And she comes around the side of the Jeep as the camera reveals that the pickup truck is now stuck in a T-bone with the patrol unit. So they're stuck together, and Air Supply is still playing on the soundtrack. And Kinsey watches on as the man in the mask stares her down, still attempting to reverse his truck away from the Jeep. He's just mean mugging her. And there's gas leaking from the bottom of the Jeep, and Kinsey sees it and pulls her Zippo lighter from her pocket and ignites it. And making love out of nothing at all is coming to this dramatic crescendo.
And he's like,
She and the man in the mask continue to stare one another down before Kinsey suddenly screams at him, and she tosses the lighter into the collecting puddle of gasoline, and it lights up both the Jeep and the old pickup. And they're still stuck together, and the man in the mask gets one more hateful look in at Kinsey before the vehicles both suddenly explode. And it sends Kinsey tumbling backwards.
I swear that guy's not dead.
Kinsey stares at the wreckage for a moment before turning and walking away. Making love out of nothing at all now totally dominates the soundtrack as she walks down the road and into the night. What were you going to say?
If he survives a double car explosion.
So Kinsey's gained some distance before we see behind her that the pickup, still engulfed in flames, slowly frees itself from the side of the Jeep.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Before turning and slowly crawling down the road toward Kinsey. Well, the song isn't over yet, and the strangers love a good soundtrack. Kinsey turns around and sees the flaming pickup behind her, and she begins to hobble away. And the pickup roars behind her, gaining quickly before coming around her side and to the front of her, spinning around on the road and facing her head on.
One's still on fire.
Yeah, it's Fast and the Furious around her.
Okay, Ghost Rider.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And so Kinsey stops in the road and she's frantically searching the night before seeing the bridge they first entered when coming into Gatlin Lake. Kinsey makes a limping run for the bridge and she's splattered in blood. The pickup follows Kinsey onto the bridge and slows, mockingly crawling after her as she loses strength and falls to the ground. Kinsey begins crawling away as the pickup slowly approaches and it's revving its engine, and the pickup comes to a stop and the man in the mask exits as air supply slowly begins to die down as the engine and radio die. And we see his axe hit and drag along the concrete as the man in the mask is approaching Kinsey. And Kinsey gets a look at him as the camera reveals his face, and it's burned beyond recognition, and it looks like the burlap is melted into his skin. Like it's pretty good practical effects, I thought. And so his breathing is ragged, and the man in the mask rasps for air before dropping to his knees before Kinsey, and he looks down, revealing a huge chunk of glass, probably from the windshield, I would gather, jutting out from his stomach. And his bloodied and burned hands shakily clutch at the glass before finally yanking it out. And blood spurts onto the concrete.
It was metal as fuck.
Yeah, hell yeah. What a way to die. He's all burned up. Freaking windshield glass in his stomach.
Pulls it out.
Air supply on the soundtrack.
It's coming after you with an axe all while this is going on.
This is a real man, ladies and gentlemen.
Peak masculinity.
Yeah, this is peak man. The man in the mask drops forward dramatically, and he's face forward on the pavement now, and Kinsey in shock is staring at him, and we cut to a mother and son wordlessly driving through the night in a small pickup. The son repeatedly tosses a baseball into the air, and he's catching it with a baseball mitt. And we see out their windshield as they round a corner, revealing Kinsey in the road stumbling along towards them, waving her hands and screaming for them to stop. So the pickup stops, and Kinsey limps towards the back of the truck. The brake lights are bathing her in red. And the mom exits the pickup and approaches Kinsey, and she's asking if she's all right. And Kinsey begins to beg for her help before a look of horror crosses over the mom's face, and she runs back to the pickup. And we cut to Lindsay as the man in the mask rises behind her with his axe in hand. And Kinsey turns in time to avoid his swing as the axe smashes into the concrete. And so she sprints to the back of the pickup, and she jumps in the bed as the mom starts the truck, and Kinsey screams for her to drive. And the man in the mask lumbers to the back of the pickup and clutches on just before the pickup screeches away. And the man in the mask crawls up and stands as the pickup drives on, and he's wildly swinging the axe at Kinsey, and she's ducking away, narrowly avoiding each blow. He swings the axe down a final time into the bed of the pickup as Kinsey finds the boy's bat.
Crack!
Yeah, as Kinsey finds the boy's baseball bat. And the man in the mask looks at her as Kinsey screams and takes a wild swing, smashing into the side of his head with a loud crunch. And he tumbles into the road and he stays. And we watch out the back of the pickup as it continues to pull away. And Kinsey's screaming wildly and hysterically. We cut to the man in the mask lying dead in the road, a single eye staring up at nothing. And the passing night forest slowly turns to dawn as Kinsey weeps, bloodied and broken, in the back of the pickup. The whole thing is very Texas Chainsaw Massacre 74. And so we cut to our final scene. We cut to a hospital room where Kinsey sits in the fetal position on a small padded chair. She wakes up with a gasp and frantically searches, glancing around the room. That small part still gets to me. It was just the timing that I watched this movie, but I understood what she wakes up just awful. And so she wakes up and she's, looking around, and we pull back to see Luke unconscious in the hospital bed, and he's all IVs and breathing tubes.
Is he still alive?
Yep.
Oh, my God.
Kinsey slowly begins to calm as she remembers where she is, and she gets up from her chair, and she leans over Luke, kissing him on the head before walking to the sink and filling a styrofoam cup with water. And Kinsey,
is she not hooked up to anything?
No, she's in Luke's hospital room, and she's in the fetal position in one of those chairs, Oh. And she wakes up and she looks around and she's like, "Oh yeah." She needs some
hospital attention too, though.
Yeah, why isn't she? Because of her fucking leg.
Maybe she's recovered and he's still been to the hospital.
Maybe
time has passed.
Yeah, who knows how much time has passed? Very smart. A couple smart observations that I did not think about. The gun, for sure. I was like, why the fuck doesn't he have...
It's funny how I haven't even seen it.
Yeah, and you're like, why doesn't he have the gun? And I'm like, oh yeah. So she gets up and she, goes over to the sink and fills up a styrofoam cup with water, and she begins to drink as she hears the whine of a Jack in the Box toy out in the hall.
Oh, fuck.
It sounds like the Jack in the Box from earlier in the movie. And so she gasps and she turns her attention to the closed hospital room door, and we slowly zoom in on the door as Kinsey's whispering, "Hello?" before a sudden thudding knocking bangs loudly on the door, and Kinsey yelps, dropping her cup to the floor, spilling water everywhere, and we end on a final shot of Kinsey's face, eyes wide with terror, whimpering to herself and slowly backing away. We cut to black, roll credits, and that is The Strangers Pray at Night.
Wait, what?
So to me, that ending scene, because it's like they're all dead. The only one that you can really assume is not dead, maybe, is the man in the mask, but he's fucking dead, right? To me, watching this thing, it feels like a commentary on trauma. So the idea that these things never fully leave you.
So, Brian, also hear me out on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
The 3 strangers aren't the only ones, and they're a cult. Mm-hmm. And when the other 3 haven't returned, the other members are coming.
See, that's very possible. Have you seen the previews for the new one?
There's another one?
Yes. So you're fucking on fire today, Richard, because there's another Strangers movie coming out. You remember they did the remake? It's called The Strangers Chapter 1. Yeah. Pretty forgettable, but it was a exact remake of the very first one.
Okay.
With the guy and the girl.
That's what I was thinking about earlier.
Oh, okay. That's the new one. That's Chapter 1. I don't know. Yeah.
Is Chapter 1 the new? It's not out yet?
Chapter 1 has been out. It came out some time ago, last year. It came out last year, and now Chapter 2 is coming out this year. So Chapter 1, 2, and 3 are total. We're remaking. We're forgetting everything else. We're starting a new.
So we're forgetting Strangers Pray at Night
trilogy. Yeah, we're forgetting the Strangers. We're forgetting the Strangers Pray at Night.
Do you think Strangers 2, Chapter 2 is going to be like the Pray at Night?
I don't think so, because spoilers for Chapter 1. But at the end of the movie, rather than the Liv Tyler, it's not Liv Tyler this time, but rather than the couple, this time around, rather than the couple getting stabbed to death, I believe just the boyfriend dies. And the girl lives because the movie ends with her at the hospital. You know.
Oh, yeah, wait. I've seen the trailer for the second one, because then she's in the car with people.
Yes. And she's like, oh shit, they're all the strangers. And that's what I was getting to.
It's like the whole town is like.
Yeah, so that's what I was, is that Chapter 2, it looks like
it's a cult.
It's like a cult of people, which, again, when you give these things an explanation, they're less scary. Like, I don't want to know why or where it is, but it's like, okay.
I just love the whole, why? Why not?
Okay, let me ask you this, honestly. Honestly, then. Are the killer's moments in Scream scariest when it's Ghostface and you don't know who it is, or afterwards when you know that it's Billy and Stu?
It's scarier not knowing who it is.
Exactly.
But Brian, I'm going to say this right now. I'm telling you right now, if a fucking person that killed somebody I love or whatever, so I said, why did you do it? Why not? I'm like, bitch.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And they don't say anything else. Just
fuck you.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Absolutely. All that to say, I genuinely love this movie. It obviously means a lot to me on a personal level. It's not perfect. There's a lot of flaws to the writing and to the logic of like the rationality and logic of some of these characters. But 2 things. It moved me very much on a personal level. And second, the pool scene is one of the greatest horror scenes I've ever seen in my life, and I'm happy to report that more and more people feel that way. I guess The Strangers Pray at Night has become somewhat of a cult classic, which is something I didn't realize until recently, like reading about this, researching for this episode. I love this movie. It's not for everybody. It is a standard slasher. You could probably put this on in the background while you're cooking dinner or hanging out, having friends over, whatever. The Strangers Pray at Night 2018. Please go check it out.
Brian, can you want to start where people can find us?
Oh, sure. Try one more time. Brian, where can people find us?
Brian, where can people find us?
On social media.
On social media.
Say it one more time.
Where can people find us on social media, Brian?
One more time.
I know, I mess up social.
It's okay.
Where can people find us on social media, Brian?
I'm so glad you asked, Richard. The people can find all of our social media on our Linktree account. That's linktr.ee/bonebarrelpod. You can find our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook, and coming soon, our YouTube. You can also reach us by email. Start emailing Richard and telling him to post regularly on our social media.
bonebarrelpod@gmail.com.
Absolutely, which is also on the Linktree.
The Twitter or X is at bonebarrelpod. The Instagram is the Bone Barrel Podcast. And as always, we want to thank you, our misfits in all things horror. And I'm Richard.
I'm Brian.
And this has been
the Bone Barrel Podcast.